CDC, San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. Jason Minix, The Blitz.
And it is Friday. We have made it to the end of the week. We survived Slacker Sports and Arcade Bar last night. Had a great time. Well, Pledge barely survived. Although, my goodness, James Pledger, who's producing on the other side, well, he's in the studio. I'm doing the show conveniently from the kitchen today.
Shocking.
I'm Jason Minix. It is The Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. It was so much fun last night being able to get out, do a show in front of people, as we start to return to normalcy. Next week, we'll be in Oxnard, California for our AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp coverage. Can't wait to get out there, but it was just a lot of fun last night to get out there. But I did not put two and two together, Pledge, after about the third shot that you were putting down, that Carl Schoening was on his way to Mexico. Dude works 4 days and needs a vacation day. And you were going to have to fill in. So you did R&R in the morning. Mm-hmm. How was Rudy this morning? You make it?
He looked tired.
but he made it.
But he was here.
He was there. You were there. Then you had to do halftime. Now you're doing this show. So you've been at work since about 6 this morning?
A little earlier than that, but yeah.
Why'd you get there before then? Anyway,
much like show prep.
I get you. But and then you got, of course, the Saturday morning hangover tomorrow. But man, it was a lot of fun to be out there, and everybody talking about Texas and OU moving to the SEC. We'll talk a lot about that today. Obviously, the Cowboys have started training camp, working out a former Texas Longhorn today. We'll get into that. COVID in the sports world still there as players are talking about vaccination, not vaccination based on that memo. And we've had an offensive line coach fired for refusing to get the shot. We'll talk about that. We'll continue our countdown to training camps. Look at the AFC East. Matt Parrino, who covers the Buffalo Bills, will join us to talk some Bills, probably a little Cole Beasley, as well as the AFC East. The Cleveland Indians are no more. They're now the Guardians. We'll get into that. We've got some good Spurs news. RJ Ochoa will join us to talk Dallas Cowboys training camp coming up at 6 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, Brent Zorneman will join us for real this time, I hope. And I say that, I mean, Brent Zorneman broke the Texas OU to the SEC story, and he was going to come on, and then he got extremely busy, obviously, and then he was going to come on yesterday, and again got tied up. He promises today he won't bail. I texted him a little while ago. You still good? Yep. I'm still good. But this is an
pinky promise, though.
It's an ever-changing story. Look, man, I understand what he's going through. I mean, because there is more and more info on this that seems to be coming out all the time. So we've got a lot to talk about today. And one of the things, and I am working from home today. And in fact, I got some ribs on the Traeger right now that I picked up earlier today over at Tri-County Meat Market. And while I was there, I ended up joining a bad quarterback fantasy league. Now, they're explaining this to me, and I'm like, all right, I'm in. But as I'm kind of reading through how their rules are, and I mean, looks like their rules were done on a blank piece of paper. They're just handwriting it. One of those things where you're sitting around having a couple drinks, going, all right, -10 if he scores a touchdown, +50 and so I'm in this league. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. Different ways of playing fantasy football, because it sounds fun, but you're actually rooting for a disastrous quarterback. I mean, this is where you want a Jameis Winston on your fantasy team, or a Daniel Jones. You want Fitz tragic, not Fitz magic. The draft is going to be next, or 2 weeks from now, first part of August. But now I've got to study up and completely rethink the way you would typically draft. But the kicker to this is you have two quarterbacks that you have to play every week. And so, as you go through, you're going to end up with good quarterbacks on your team. I mean, it's impossible not to have good quarterbacks. It's a snake draft. So you're going to get one crap guy that you would never draft. But what if you end up with, a Patrick Mahomes or a Dak Prescott or an Aaron Rodgers, a Tom Brady?
But why would you draft any of those when you can draft a Jeff Driscoll or a David Mills or a Tyrod Taylor?
You get in the first round, a lot of those guys probably go in the first round, but you have to draft starters. You can't draft bench guys. You have to. So as you come back around for your second time, you're going to be into the good quarterbacks. You see what I mean? And so there seems to be a lot of strategic maneuvering in this bad quarterback fantasy league that I just joined. And I don't want to say suckered into. I'm in, and I'm going to take their money. I know that. I mean, that's the fun part of it. So lots to talk about today. And, of course, we want you to be a part of the show on the Kia Bossa Bacon phone lines, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. You can also get me on Twitter at Jason Minix. James Pledger is on Twitter at I am Pledger. You can also comment on the Facebook live feed or the YouTube feed, although Pledge has done a really good job of going very quick with the comments before I could read them. Like David Umflett says, Cleveland Guardians, what are they guarding that anyone? Well, stop. I mean, you're a Yankee fan. Chris Summers says everyone needs to slow down on SEC. Might not even get enough votes. Here's the thing, Chris Summers. They're going to get the votes. They are going to get the votes. I mean, in fact, they knew they were going to get enough votes except for one. That's why they didn't even include Texas A&M in the conversations. I mean, the Aggies have to feel so cheated on that the SEC was having all these meetings but didn't invite Texas A&M because they knew the Aggies would be very negative on this and would not support it. So we're not even going to bring the no vote to the meeting. They might get in Arkansas. They maybe get a Missouri. And I go back. I was talking to an Aggie friend of mine. Oh, the Aggie connections in this town are incredible. And everybody knows everybody. And everybody, thinks they know the inside sources and where this is coming from and all that. But I did not know, and I had not heard this before, but apparently when A&M joined in 2012, there was one of those handshake agreements, I suppose, and this is secondhand bar talk, right? But that, when Texas joined or Texas A&M joined the SEC, there was this handshake that it was going to be, one school state for the SEC, and Florida was involved in that. So like Florida, everybody would bar Florida State from ever joining the SEC. Georgia was involved in this, game where, like they would always bar, say, Georgia Tech from getting in to the SEC, Missouri, and so they wanted one state, except for, the ones that already had two in the SEC. All these schools that were joining the SEC apparently had an agreement that they wouldn't let anybody else from your state in. So you could be the SEC representative from your state. So A&M has Texas. Florida has the state of Florida, Georgia and Georgia. They weren't going to let any of the other schools in. But all the people that apparently kind of made that deal, they're not involved anymore. They're not athletic directors anymore. They're not presidents anymore. They're certainly not the coaches anymore. And I look at A&M, and A&M right now, honestly, is ahead of Texas. And we know that. But Ross Bjork's comments just sounded so little brother. Like, sure, Texas A&M doesn't want Texas to come in, but say, come on, we're big brother now. You want to follow us? Let's go. If I was Ross Bjork, that's how I would have handled that. Jimbo Fisher, I think, said the right thing, man. Be careful what you wish for. I bet they do want to come in. Other SEC coaches doing the same thing, because the recruiting advantage that some of these schools have currently, when I think about Arkansas, I think about Texas A&M, Missouri, these schools that recruit Texas, that are recruiting against the Big 12, but not, but they're, hey, man, you can go Big 12 or you can come SEC, come play for me. Even the head coach of Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz, he takes a shot at Texas. He was on the Chuck Oliver show, part of the Southern Sports Today over at SEC Media Days, and just, drops this subtle blow to the Texas Longhorns.
You got to go into Dallas. You got to go into Texas. You got to go into Denver and Chicago. We got to be willing to think differently. That was one of the pushes that I made when getting this job is let's not try to go win the rat race in the SEC. I don't know that my logo is going to go win it in Florida for me. We can go, find and develop some talent, but we know we have a great logo in the state of Texas. Obviously, it's so good. Some of those schools want to join our league now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and again, it's the recruiting idea here that this is coming. Now, as the story continues to develop, Dennis Dodd at CBS says he's hearing that Texas will play A&M and Oklahoma each season in the new SEC, which tells me they're going to end up in the same division, which is rightfully so. It's going to cost, $76 million pledge for Texas and Oklahoma to get out of the current Big 12 contract?
That is correct.
$76 million to get out, because I think this is going to happen sooner rather than later. They're not going to wait till 2025 to get out of the Big 12. They are going, and they are going now. Not this football season, but this will be the last in the Big 12. Might be the last season for the Big 12, certainly the Big 12 as we know it, because according to CBS, they're expected to declare their intention to leave the Big 12 in 24 to 48 hours. I mean, they're going to make the announcement, we're gone. In fact, the Big 12 had an emergency meeting last night, got everybody on a Zoom call, and Texas and Oklahoma, they declined the Google invite. Yeah, I'm not showing up to that meeting. Why? Because that is a sinking ship. The Big 12, as we know it now, essentially done. So every other school is trying to figure out where they are going to go. I don't know how Bowlesby saves the Big 12 because your marquee programs are gone. The idea of bringing in an Arizona and Arizona State, those Pac-12 schools that have talked about moving, they're not going to do that. I wonder, though, does some of these other conferences try to create another super conference? Because that is, the SEC is the first of the super conferences. And I do believe one of the reasons why the SEC would want Texas and Oklahoma, because everybody that has that argument that says, well, why do they even want them? Because they're Texas and they're Oklahoma and they come with piles of cash. They have so much cash that they can spend $76 million to get out of contracts, and they're going to make that money up tenfold. You look at the idea of them coming, they bring money, but also Greg Sankey realizes the SEC has the best network of all the college conference networks. They've got the strongest. They've got the best football. He wants to maintain that. He wants to maintain having the best football. So if Texas and OU are leaving the Big 12 and they don't go to the SEC, they're going somewhere. And Sankey wants to make sure that they don't go somewhere and make another conference that much stronger. And I wouldn't be surprised if the SEC is done. Adding Texas and OU gets them to 16? Let's see, what other schools could they go after right now? Could they get to 18? Could they get to 20? I mean, when you look at that and wonder how much more expansion could there be? Could they end up going into the Carolinas? Could they, where would they like that footprint to go? Look at the TV markets, look at the good football programs, and follow the money. That is what it's all about. Somebody commented on Facebook Live, and if you want to comment and dial in the program, easy to do on the Kielbasa Bacon phone lines at 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Luis Sanchez, UTSA should try to move to the Big 12. Possible. I don't know that they're there yet, but we've got to see what the Big 12 turns into. I mean, right now, UTSA is in Conference USA, but if you go back 10, 15 years, Conference USA isn't the same. You look at the WAC. The WAC used to be a big conference. It isn't anymore. And one of the reasons I say the Big 12 is a sinking ship, Alfred Villarreal asked that question on Facebook Live, or actually he's on our YouTube channel. Appreciate you tuning in on YouTube. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel because you've lost your marquee programs. Texas and Oklahoma are the marquee programs in the Big 12. Name another one that is attractive, that is going to be the face of the Big 12. It's not Baylor. It's not TCU. It's not Texas Tech. It's not Oklahoma State. It sure as hell isn't Kansas. Iowa State's good right now, but are they a program strong enough to lead the conference? And the answer is no. And it's not a knock on any of those programs, but when you think about having an anchor, Texas and Oklahoma have been the anchor of the Big 12. That's what they are. You ever drive by and you see a shopping center that doesn't have the anchor store? You know, every shopping center, every mall has big anchor stores, and then they got all the other stores that survive on that anchor store. And when that anchor store goes away, that shopping center dies. You know, I mean, if you've been in San Antonio for a long time, Windsor Park Mall, think about it. When all the anchor stores left, you know, it turned into rack space. Rolling Oaks Mall, I think, is now more about Amazon than it is an anchor store. I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to, is Texas and OU have been the anchor store in the Big 12 mall. With those teams leaving, what other anchor store are you going to get? What school could you attract to the Big 12 to make it survive? But the Big 12, as we know it right now, if Texas and OU leave, gone. It's not like Texas A&M is going to come back. I mean, you know, any of those other teams. I mean, tell me if you've got a better idea, a better plan. I just don't know what happens to the Big 12. I don't know if it necessarily goes away, but it's going to rebrand, and it's not going to be in the Power 5 after that TV contract is up. Don't you have a feeling that executives at ESPN and at Fox are having major issues right now with what is going on? Could you imagine Gus Johnson gearing up for the Fox Saturday night prime game in Lawrence, Kansas for the big Jayhawk Wildcat game? No. I mean, and you look at the money. I mean, you think about what are both Texas and Texas A&M are in the top 5 in college revenue. I believe that is an accurate statement. You know, the SEC is going to get richer. The Big 12 is going to have lots of issues, and that's just where it's at. I don't see, if the reports come true, the way everything is couched, and we'll talk more about it coming up at 5 o'clock. Brent Zorneman from the Houston Chronicle is going to join us to get the latest on what he is hearing. And again, he is the one that broke the story. I don't believe this story gets out if they didn't have the 11 votes that were needed. That's A&M's going to vote no. Maybe Arkansas. You know, and this all started when the Longhorn Network started. I mean, let's be honest. That's one of the reasons why Texas A&M left. And again, it's a conference with 10 teams because they haven't been able to find the quality teams that they wanted for their conference to join. They could have added teams that would have just been adding teams. I mean, hell, West Virginia doesn't necessarily fit the Big 12 mold, but they needed teams, and they took them. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Again, more on this coming up at 5 o'clock as Brent Zorneman joins us. The other big stories today involve the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys training camp underway. You know, we talked a lot yesterday about some of the injuries and guys that are starting on the PUP list, including DeMarcus Lawrence having some back issues. Always concerned when it comes to back. They say it's minor. It's always minor when it's somebody else's back. Back issues are always alarming. But it is, while there are 6 guys on the PUP list, the PUP list for training camp different than the regular season where you got to be out, 6 games. I'm not overly concerned yet. Maybe if I see him walking funny when we're in Oxnard next week, I'll be a little bit more concerned, you know, if I see him with a walker or a limp. But if it was just minor cleanup, I think he'll be okay. One of the things that I do find interesting is, and it is that time of year where you got all kinds of guys that show up and they work out. Now, Holton Hill, former Longhorn, has, let's say, I think he spent more time on the suspended list than on the active list. So the Cowboys brought him in to work out today. He is a cornerback. Now, 2 days ago, Stephen Jones, while he did say they're always looking to upgrade their roster, it's a 24/7, 365 a day kind of deal. He did say they were pretty set at corner, yet today the first player they bring in to work out, a corner.
We made a major commitment to the corner position in the draft. I know a lot of people, felt like maybe we should have come away with the corner with that first pick. But, philosophically, we felt like the corners that were worthy of that first pick in that area we were in were not there. So, obviously, we feel great about Micah. But then went ahead to address the corner position as the draft went on. And, I think the coaches feel good. We feel good about the corners that we picked. And, to go along with the veteran corners we have in Diggs and Brown and Jay Lou, I think it's a great group out there. But at the same time, our philosophy is just 365 days a year. We're always looking if there's an opportunity to upgrade the roster. Then we'll certainly look at that and address that.
And that was Stephen Jones the other day. That is what they're doing now. And again, I do not know right now if that's because of some sort of injury or as Dan Quinn has gotten closer and closer to his first game, if he doesn't like something he's seeing, but he's also available. COVID obviously still a very big story when it comes to the NFL. I mean, we talked ad nauseum yesterday about the memo that Roger Goodell sent out about trying to get players vaccinated. And then if you're unvaccinated and you're essentially the cause of an outbreak, your game and a game has to get canceled. It won't get moved. It won't get postponed. It will be a forfeit, go down as a loss. And then it ultimately will cost guys money because they won't get their game checks. Interesting story today that the NFL announced that 9 teams now have more than 90% of their players vaccinated. 5 teams are bringing up the rear with less than 70% of their players vaccinated. But the NFL also announced today that 80% of players have had at least one shot of the COVID vaccine. So I think they are getting ultimately what they want. And every team wants the 85% threshold because team protocols change when it comes to meetings, when it comes to the mask policy, and the fines that the NFL has levied substantial enough that they're trying to do it. The interesting side, while there are certain players that have been very vocal about not getting the vaccine, like Cole Beasley, like DeAndre Hopkins, Rick Dennison, if you remember him when he was coaching with the Houston Texans, Rick Dennison's the offensive line coach and run game coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, or was. Rick Dennison got fired today because he refuses to get the shot. Interesting, because the NFL can't mandate players. And I don't necessarily know if they can mandate coaches, but I think they can. And clearly, if you're not going to get the shot, you can't come into the building. We learned last year, not everything's good on Zoom. Rick Dennison becomes the first to lose a gig because he refuses to get the shot. Now, Rick Dennison's been doing this a long time. I'm guessing he knew when he refused to get the shot, he knew what the consequences were. He probably looked at the bank account, probably looked at his investments, maybe the 401k, and said, I'll take the year off. Interesting when you got a guy like Cole Beasley, who should have enough money in the bank. In fact, he has essentially said enough on Twitter. A lot of guys, he says, think the way he does about getting the vaccine, but they're not in a position to make a stand because financially they'll find a football reason to cut you if you're unvaccinated. But also, it's going to be hard to get a job if you're an unvaccinated player. I mean, the protocols, you've got to come in and you've got to quarantine before your workout if you're unvaccinated. Teams aren't going to wait for you to quarantine. Not this year. The big difference between this year and last year, we have a vaccine now. They need to get it done. Speaking of the Buffalo Bills, Matt Parrino is going to join us coming up after SportsCenter. He's the Buffalo Bills beat reporter. We're going to talk to him about the Bills and get a preview of the AFC East as we continue our countdown to training camps here on the Blitz on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. And as we get ready for the start of training camps, you got to start thinking about fantasy football. And I have found the best new place to play fantasy sports online. It is UnderdogFantasy.com. They have daily and season-long fantasy sports, an NFL best ball format that's easy to play with no waivers, no trades. You just draft, set it, and forget it. Draft your team in a 12-team league over 18 rounds. Get the highest possible score in your lineup each week. It's easy to do and a great way to practice for your home draft that's going to be coming up in the next month or so. At UnderdogFantasy.com, they already have contests for the 2021 NFL season already live, including their Best Ball Mania 2 tournament, which is the largest tournament in all of fantasy football. Only $25 to enter, $3.5 million in total prizes. You can play online at UnderdogFantasy.com, or you can download their app. Sign up today using promo code RADIO and make your first deposit to receive a free $25 in bonus cash. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store and register with promo code RADIO to get $25 cash for free with your first deposit. So download the app today, start playing, use promo code RADIO at sign up. Terms and conditions apply. And the best part is, if you don't like it, they guarantee your money back up to $100. So download the app or go to UnderdogFantasy.com.
I'm James Pledger, and the draft is next Thursday as the Spurs continue to do their homework leading up to it, as they've scheduled a workout with projected lottery pick Tennessee guard Keon Johnson. The 6'5" wing defender averaged over 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists per game last season for the Vols. In the NFL, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper and defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence are among 6 players that have been placed on the physically unable to perform list to start training camp. Cooper underwent ankle surgery back in January, while Lawrence has long had back problems and had a cleanup procedure this offseason, according to Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. Remember, San Antonio Sports Star will be live at Cowboys training camp all next week. Speaking of the Cowboys, Dallas is scheduled to work out former Texas Longhorn and Minnesota Viking cornerback Holton Hill. I'm James Pledger for San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Heard in an accident and bills piling up? Thomas J. Henry can advance living expenses on qualified cases. Start your claim today at tjhlaw.com/radio. That's tjhlaw.com/radio. San Antonio, Texas.
Welcome to Texas, where your backside will sizzle like bacon when you get in your car, unless you go to Mother's Window Tint, home of the Tint and Alarm Special, where you can also buy a new car stereo. Since 1984, Mother's Window Tint has tinted cars and trucks to keep them cooler and stop the sun from damaging their interiors. Texans like dark, privacy window tint. Come to Mother's and get some. Legal and guaranteed a lifetime. Remember to protect yourself and your family. Buy an auto alarm today from Mother's. Starter kill, remote start, GPS locator, 24-hour live monitoring. Save $100 on the tint and alarm package of your choice. Austin and San Antonio stores. MothersWindowTint.com. Remember, do it at Mother's and save.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the biggest Callaway trade-in event of the year. Starting this Thursday through Sunday, bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 75% trade-in bonus towards new Apex irons and Epic woods. Both the Apex and Epic families are designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Go to worldwidegolfshops.com or call the store nearest you to schedule your free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Guys, stop putting your love life on hold. U.S. Pharmacy has some exciting news. If you've been wanting to try Viagra or Cialis, now's the perfect time. Call today and receive 90 little blue or little yellow pills for only $119 with free shipping. Why order some low-dose sildenafil from one of those subscription services when we can give you what you want now? Call 800-990-6271 and we'll rush your order discreetly packaged to your door. Been thinking about trying Viagra or Cialis? Call U.S. Pharmacy at 800-990-6271 for as little as only $119 for 90 pills. Need your package in a hurry? Call 800-990-6271 and ask about our express shipping option, and we'll rush your order to you as soon as possible. Save money on the little blue or yellow pill you've been wanting to try. Again, 800-990-6271 now. That's 800-990-6271.
Sports without apologies. This is San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
It is the Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. I'm Jason Minix. Glad to have you along on this Friday, ready to go for the weekend and all next week. We're going to be in Oxnard, California. Our AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp coverage brought to you in part by Ewald Kubota and Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds. Going to be fun getting out next week to Oxnard, where it's going to be 70 some odd degrees. And we did finally find a place to stay. Alonzo Cantu said, I saw those ribs looking good, my dude. Absolutely. I've got some ribs. In fact, in the last commercial break, I was able to pull them off, wrap them. You know, they went on about a little after 1 o'clock. They're going to be perfect when the show is over. And we're out early today, 6:30, for Texas Rangers baseball, brought to you by New Break. So when you look at where we are with the Dallas Cowboys, and Pledge, you were just telling me that Malik Hooker is working out. I haven't had a chance to read the story, the link that you sent, but what's going on with the Cowboys?
Well, Malik Hooker is back for a second workout with the Dallas Cowboys, and according to reports, he's likely to sign.
Interesting that, you come back for a second workout. A lot of times guys come in, they know you, and what I find interesting there is, we're at training camp. We know that they were looking at a safety or a corner, and now they're coming in and looking at a safety. And you wonder, and we'll talk about this more with RJ Ochoa, and I'll try to read up on it. When they brought in Malik Hooker during the offseason, they didn't sign him. I'm guessing it was because he was asking for too much money for what they were willing to pay. And then all of a sudden, training camps are starting and Hooker still doesn't have a job. So, hey, let me go for that second job interview. All right, well, what were you guys willing to pay? I didn't want that a couple months ago, but I'll sure take that now because it's better than nothing. You get the sense that's what's going on here with Malik Hooker and the Dallas Cowboys?
I mean, yeah, I think it's about money, and I think part of it, too, is about, remember, he was coming off, I believe it's an Achilles injury, so part of that also might be due to the fact that he is further along in his recovery and probably healthier now than he was when he initially worked out for the Cowboys.
Well, and again, I mean, anytime you're coming off a surgery, you have to get this deal done pending your physical. And maybe early on, the doctors had a little bit of concern with Malik Hooker and where he was at in the recovery and rehab process. And at this point, as training camp is underway, they must feel pretty good about it, even to bring him in for a second look. It is seemingly surprising. Come in, get your workout in. Maybe you didn't have a good workout the first time, and they opted not to sign him, but that would be because of an injury. It's just interesting that, big free agent safety, and the Cowboys are interested and apparently are going to sign him. I mean, it's in the last 30 minutes or so, jumping all over Twitter. And keep in mind, it's only 2:30 out in California. That's one of the that's one of the hard parts about being out in Oxnard is everything is behind. Even when I was on vacation in Los Angeles last week for the Foo Fighters concert that didn't happen, you wake up at 8 o'clock, everybody else is at 10. Your morning's getting going and everybody else is breaking for lunch. You see what I mean? It is kind of one of those interesting situations. So, they go through their morning meetings, and this is what's happening out there and why it's starting to break now. The Cowboys practice in the morning, and then they go into their meetings and they have lunch. And then after lunch, you see, I don't know, a Malik Hooker rolling around the facility, and you go, hey, where did that happen? Because during practice, everybody else is over here. You're able to sneak guys in without any of the media noticing because all the media is somewhere else. And then after lunch, everybody is around, people are talking, people get seen. That's kind of how some of that works. I like that. I like the idea of the Cowboys signing Malik Hooker. I liked the idea of Malik Hooker signing with the Dallas Cowboys in the offseason because I still think that's, and clearly if he does sign, the fact that he's in for a visit, still a major concern for the Dallas Cowboys, that safety position. And they can tell you that they're comfortable and that they're happy with what they have. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're really comfortable with what they have. I think Malik Hooker would be a nice addition to the situation. So you look at it and you go, all right, Cowboys, they can sign Malik Hooker. And as Stephen Jones has said, the idea that they're always looking to acquire talent, upgrade talent. Did you see the videos yesterday of Dan Quinn rolling around Dallas Cowboys training camp coverage, hat on backwards, ready to go, getting in there fighting? Reminded me of Chris Rashad, who was just in there all the time. You know what I mean?
He's going to be fantastic on Hard Knocks.
He is. He almost. Do you kind of get the sense that he is playing it up for the cameras?
Absolutely. I mean, as much as y'all make fun about J.J. Watt during his Hard Knocks performances, you better be all over Dan Quinn in the same light.
Why?
Because it's the same thing, if not worse, because he's a coach.
I don't know Dan Quinn well enough to know if that is always how Dan Quinn coaches, right? Especially now that he's not the head coach. He's the DC, but hat on backwards, just fired up. Kind of reminded me of the press conference that Dan Campbell had when he got hired as the head coach of the Detroit Lions, talking about biting kneecaps and on your way up, getting the other kneecap. It's like, dude, tone it down a little bit. But if that's how he coaches. Now, if Dan Quinn is shirtless out there with baby oil all over him and then taking a nap on mats like J.J. Watt, yeah, we will give him a lot of crap.
I mean, you should anyway. Just because he is as old as he is, running around, rolling in the dirt. Like, come on. Really, is that necessary?
Yeah.
And JJ's putting in work after practice.
JJ Watt's putting work in practice with his shirt off, his hair done, baby oil all over him. Come on, man. There's a huge difference.
There's not. There is not. You are just wearing those star blue colored glasses.
Are just trying to find a reason to hate. You are. You want to pick on an old man. I mean, look, if he goes all Dave Campo and gets naked in the hot tub out there at the River Ridge Complex, yeah, we're going to have to talk. See, but I don't think HR would allow that anymore. So, or was it? Yeah, it was Campo or was it Wade? I forget.
It was Campo.
Yeah, it was Campo. Some things you can't unsee. Wade used to you go walking all the time with his Dr. Pepper. The let's order a double bacon cheeseburger and get a diet Dr. Pepper. But you look at it, it is going to be interesting to see Hard Knocks this year as you bring up Hard Knocks, because we are going to get a look at what Dan Quinn is like and if he's playing it up for the cameras. He's not going to get Tabasco in his eye. We certainly know that.
Gotta hope not.
I'm more curious about Mike McCarthy and how well he coaches, how he commands meetings, because we've seen some coaches come across foolish, Hugh Jackson, on Hard Knocks. Most of the time when you're on Hard Knocks, people think you're going to have a great season and you fall in love with certain storylines. And from what I understand, Micah Parsons is going to be a huge storyline in Hard Knocks coming up. But it will be very interesting to see Dan Quinn and some of these other guys, especially some of the guys that we don't know very well. And part of that was last year, because of COVID, there wasn't in-person media access. When we had Travion Diggs on the Blitz, man, I loved hearing from that kid. We've had Mike. I've talked to Michael Gallup a handful of times. He is a fun kid. I hope he gets a lot of time. I imagine Amari Cooper and Micah Parsons are going to have some chess battles that are going to get some Hard Knocks time, but he's kind of boring. Pollard is kind of a boring guy. I mean, if anything, you can talk barbecuing with Tony Pollard, but don't try to talk football with him. He just doesn't have that. And I say that his parents have a barbecue joint in Memphis. So, he's fun to talk Q with. He knows his meats, but, you talk to him about football and it's just boring. It's like, dude, come on, man. But it will be interesting to see how these guys are on Hard Knocks, because a lot of them we haven't seen, and getting a little bit more behind the scenes with the Zeke and with the Dak, and I gotta believe in typical Hard Knocks fashion, although again with COVID, and I gotta caveat everything with COVID, right? with COVID, the idea that what am I saying, the workouts that Zeke has done this year, he looks ripped, and I know he's got a private chef. And his private chef's a great follow on Instagram, by the way, Traeger Man. But if but seeing what he's doing, I don't know if Hard Knocks went and filmed any of that stuff because of COVID. And I think that's part of the reason why we won't get the first episode until August 9th, after the first preseason game. Normally, Hard Knocks debuts before the first preseason game because they have so much footage.
Mm-hmm. Who are the players that you don't know? Like, we know Zeke and Dak are obviously probably going to be a part of Hard Knocks. We know Micah Parsons is going to be a big part of Hard Knocks probably. Who are the players that you want to learn more about on Hard Knocks and hope they get an opportunity to have more told about them? Like a Zach Martin or...
I hope Diggs, and I don't know if the offensive linemen will do that. Some of the guys actually get paid to be featured and have the cameras follow them. And I look at the offensive linemen in that group. One, they don't need the money, and two, maybe Tyler Badass, just because I don't know anything about him.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we don't get a whole lot of Jalen Smith. Let's be honest.
That's true.
After last year, I hope Jalen Smith says, keep the cameras away from me. I need to prove it on the field once again.
Oh, he's going to go full JJ after practice.
I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more Leighton Vander Esch, though. And, because I remember talking to him at the draft, man. That guy, as Rob Thompson said one time, he'd make a cup of coffee nervous. His energy is at such a level. It'll be interesting to see. And some of the new coaches, I wonder what kind of look we'll get in at Kellen Moore. We hear all this stuff, but in the meeting rooms where he apparently shined and Scott Linehan tried to keep him closed down, which is why they made that change, I wonder if we'll get some of his brilliance put on display, keeping in mind that the teams do get final say on what actually airs because they don't want to give away secrets. And we'll learn more about Jerry. I'm sure, Jerry and, we'll, go down to Nobu and in Malibu and have a party and, that kind of stuff will end up on Hard Knocks. It's Jerry. It is Jerry's show.
Are y'all actually in training camp this time for the party at Nobu that he normally, are y'all falling into that timeline?
We can either confirm or deny. Next Thursday night, we might end early. I'm just saying, what time does our draft coverage start? Can it start sooner?
I'll make it start as soon as it can.
Yeah. Nothing like the 2-star hotel that we found, and we're going to Nobu. We did, although, and I appreciate everybody's concern. The idea that a lot of you, we totally got screwed over by Airbnb.
Oh, yeah.
They literally canceled our beach house yesterday. I didn't know you could do that. If you order and reserve a house on Airbnb, you can't cancel. They'll keep your money. You cannot show up. But apparently they can cancel you 2 days before you leave. So we scrambled and found a high-quality 2-star hotel.
Is this going to be the high quality that was the hotel for the Houston Super Bowl, or
I'll let you know. Are
you going to be afraid to lay on the sheets?
I'll let you know. It's going to be interesting. I mean, it does include a free breakfast.
Continental?
I'm pretty sure it's a box of cereal or a bagel. I mean, let's be honest. It might just be one of those breakfast bars.
A little Nutri-Grain or something.
That's it. I mean, I don't even know if this place is going to have yogurt.
I'm hoping they have cable.
Oh, it'll have cable. It'll have cable. I mean, we'll see. But, I mean, the availability in that area of California, last minute, 3 rooms for a week, not easy to do. And then you kind of debate, do we want to share rooms and go from 2 stars to 3? Nope, 2 stars it is.
See, I was wondering about that because Rob was talking about two rooms. Well, he was going to pull rank, get the single, and then see what he can take off the top of the.
I got 14 years in. You know, I mean, show solidarity, man. R&R in the morning. I mean, why would I need to
the shows together?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are both getting up at 4 a.m. together, man. Wake each other up. Let me sleep in the other room by myself. If anybody would have got a single, it would have been me.
Those are great points, though. Those are actually really good points.
And you know whose credit card it's on? Mine. So I would we'd all be pulling rank. I mean, you know, it'd be one of those things.
Everybody except Rudy.
Nah, man. I mean, we've done it like that before, where you had to share rooms, and then, you know, when they come and clean it, then all right, your night to get the room. I mean, I've done it a gazillion different ways. The one thing I'll never do again is 3 in 1 room. That time that we had to do that. That's not going to work. Not going to work. So we went 2 stars. So we all get our own rooms. One of us is going to have a suite, though. I can tell you that much. Hey, the Cleveland Indians have a new name. We'll tell you what that is.
Cleveland baseball team?
Nope. But Washington is on the clock, and they missed out on what would have been a great football name.
But would have been.
The baseball team got it. Doesn't seem right. And I remember hearing Spiders as one of the names. What they could have done with the logos, I don't know. We'll talk Cleveland football. Brent Zorneman of the Houston Chronicle will talk Texas OU to the SEC with us coming up at 5 o'clock. You know, all next week, we're going to be out in Oxnard, California, and we all got a whole bunch of new shirts with the San Antonio Sports Star logo on them from Sammy's Embroidery Club. In fact, my wife's on her way to Sammy's right now to pick them up. You need your logo on any gear, you know you need to get into Sammy's Embroidery Club. If you're a business owner, a manager, a club leader, you need your logo on shirts, on jackets, on caps. Sammy's Embroidery Club is the place to go. If you need uniforms, Sam has over 700 uniform lines to choose from. Medical, restaurant, service industry, construction. You need that professional look around the office, camo gear, safety gear. Sammy has it all, and not just embroidery. He can do silkscreen shirts for any occasion. Sammy's Embroidery and Printing. Nobody has better prices. Sam has all the big name brands and is the only company in Texas with 1-day turnaround. No order too small, certainly no order too big. Check the website, samsembroidery.com, or go visit that massive showroom on San Pedro. It's 1 mile inside Loop 410, next to Big Lots across from McDonald's. All items come with a warranty, and you'll work with Sammy on your project. He's the owner, and he's by his phone right now. Call him 210-824-3900. 824-3900 for Sammy's Embroidery Club.
Score $1,000 in summer cash. Enter the winning keyword, Sticky, 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 at sasportstar.com. Good luck from San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
You know, if you're going to fire up the grill this weekend, you want the best sausage on that grill, then you know Kia Bossa smoked sausage is what you've been looking for. Kia Bossa is a great local San Antonio company on a mission to reintroduce you to authentic smoked meat. So whether you're talking about the great Kia Bossa dinner sausage, but have you tried those breakfast sausages? And they've got their new Kia Bossa smoked meats maple breakfast links now available at select HEB stores. If you haven't tried them, you are missing out. They are fantastic. These breakfast links are a little sweet, a little savory, and delicious. Perfect as part of a nice weekend breakfast spread with pancakes, waffles, and eggs, or completely on their own. Sometimes in the morning, I just heat them up. Have a couple of the maple sausage links for breakfast. They are fantastic. You can find them at select HEB stores right now. And Kielbasa is a great local San Antonio company, and this year alone, they have donated more than 2 tons of sausage to the San Antonio Food Bank, and they're not donating leftovers that don't make the grocery store. They're donating premium sausage with a special label designed to provide encouragement to people who are experiencing hard times. They call this their Links of Love program, and through this program, Kielbasa hopes to nourish people in need through local food banks and disaster relief efforts. So when you're enjoying your Kielbasa, you can feel great that not only are you enjoying some of the best sausage available at grocery stores, you're helping support our community. Learn more about Links of Love on their website, kielbasa.com. And if you're going to fire up that grill, and you are, make sure you get some Kielbasa today. If you get arrested, get out of jail fast by calling AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. Text bail to 474747 or online, mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else. Don't be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you one, make sure you understand the conditions before accepting it. AA Best Bail Bonds. Nobody beats their price. They have payment plans. Call 210-225-2121 or mybestbailbonds.com.
License number 149. This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Hey, happy hour's back at Twin Peaks. Get up here Monday through Friday from 2 to 7 and score sweet deals like $1 off all wine, liquor, cheap shots, and freezing cold 29-degree draft brews. Are you feeling snacky? We also have select apps available for $2, $4, and $6. Cheers!
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like the course keeps changing right before your eyes. Whoa! And in order to maneuver it, you need an expert by your side. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the tech solutions you need to help you get out in front and stay ahead of the game. Woo! Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL and do more with modern devices in Windows 10 Pro.
Staples Connect has everything for school at amazing prices. Right now, Staples one-subject notebooks are only 25 cents each, and Crayola 24-count crayons, 2-pocket polyfolders, and 4-ounce Elmer's glue are just 50 cents each. So your student won't just be ready for school, there'll be tons of drawings to hang on the fridge ready.
We're going to need a bigger refrigerator.
Visit your local Staples store or staples.com/back-to-school and get amazing prices for everything on your back-to-school list. Ends 9/18, limit 30, notebooks in-store only. Offer may vary online.
For the ones who know that a little late is always too late. And that the clock doesn't stop just because you're missing a part. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. And our Keep Stock inventory management solutions help ensure you have the right stuff in the right place at exactly the right time. Visit Grainger.com/keepstock to learn more. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Great news, Slackers! Slackers Sports and Arcade Bar is now opening at noon 7 days a week at all 4 area locations. North Star, St. Mary's, Slackadochis, and the Medical Center. Slackers is the home for 7-day-a-week happy hour, now starting at noon every day. And by popular demand, Slackers brings back the signature frozen drinks. Bring a date, bring a crew, or come on down solo. Slackers Sports and Arcade Bar serves you up all your favorites and quenches your thirst 7 days a week, starting every day at noon. Visit slackersbarssa.com for more info.
They are the players you know and the players you're going to know.
Okay, we'll see what's about to happen.
Get the latest NFL news, moves, and more from Dallas Cowboys training camp. San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
We've got the damn mic. San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
It is the Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. I'm Jason Minix. Glad to have you along on this Friday. We've got some things to give away. Pledge, what do we have to give away? I know you told me. I already forgot.
Yeah, well, this is your final chance to win John Mayer tickets to the show at the Moody Center in Austin on April the 20th of 2022.
Okay. Want to do that now?
We can do that now.
I heard Rob and Rudy on halftime earlier giving away was checking people's playlist. You should have gave it to the guy with Queensryche as his top song on the playlist. I'm just saying.
I know.
We'll give him to caller number 7 right now. 656-ESPN, 656-3776. Caller 7. You're going to go see John Mayer on 4/20 of next year. Plenty of time to plan to go up to Austin. If you don't win your tickets, you can get them at Ticketmaster.com. The Cleveland Indians today, or the Cleveland baseball team, announced a new name today. Very well done, produced video that they dropped on social media. It was narrated by Tom Hanks. I figure if it gets the Tom Hanks approval, who am I to argue? They're the Cleveland Guardians now. So if you have an Indians jersey and you know how it splits, where the buttons are, you still got the IANS on one side. So all you got to do is get some masking tape or some duct tape and you cover it up and just put Guard in there and it will certainly work. I like the name. Although I heard so many other names that they were apparently looking at, like Spiders, that I thought would have been better. There's some other ones in there that you could joke about. Guardians is a good name. I thought that would have been a good football team name for, Washington. What I find interesting is Cleveland is changing their name, yet they're still selling Chief Wahoo gear in their fan store. They're still going to be the Indians the rest of this year. Next year, they're going to be the Guardians. I don't understand the timing of Cleveland announcing their new name. They're not doing it in the offseason to generate any kind of excitement. They just, all right, man, we got the video finished. Let's put it out there. Maybe they were worried about leaks, so they wanted to control the messaging. Whatever the case is, the Cleveland Indians are no more. They will now be known starting next year as the Cleveland Guardians. If you haven't seen the video, it is very well done. It is a very well done video. Going to be interesting to see what happens now with Washington, the football team that plays in our nation's capital. They've had a long time to try to come up with a new name, and they haven't done it yet. And the longer they wait, the more I think they just want to be WFT. That's what it comes down to. I've got some ribs on my Traeger right now. Got some good St. Louis style ribs that I picked up at Tri-County Meat Market earlier today. They're on the Traeger now. You're going to do some grilling this weekend because it's summertime. It's grilling season. Before you fire up that grill, make sure you get into Tri-County Meat Market because that great meal starts with great meat. Tri-County Meat Market is locally owned and full service. They have carefully selected certified prime Angus beef cuts, Wagyu, upper choice. They have everything you need to up your grilling game. They got the beef. They got all the steaks. They got the chicken, their pork, the fajitas, the poppers. They've got it all, including their own homegrown Wagyu. You talk about farm to fork Wagyu. And they've also teamed up with Dean and Pillar Premium Meats out of Floresville for more locally sourced meats. They've got them, if you want to do them on your own, they've got the prepared poppers. I think about the avocado bombs. You need the asparagus, the trapped in bacon, seasoned to perfection. They've got it all there at Tri-County Meat Market. Stock up on their Pig 5 for $25. You need rubs? They got all kinds of rubs as well. Tri-County offers a 10% discount for military and first responders, police, firemen, and EMT. 2 great locations for Tri-County Meat Market on Ralph Fair Road and on Huebner. Check out their website, tricountymeat.com.
Rangers on the radio.
Here's the pitch and the ground ball left side. Diving Culberson, he's got it. Throws to second in time for the force on Walsh.
It's San Antonio's favorite addiction.
And there's a high drive, well hit left center field. Way back at the wall, Lewis and Trammell, and it is history. A 3-run Jimmy Jack for Adolis Garcia.
Go ahead. Have another hit. San Antonio's Sports Star. ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Welcome to Texas, where your backside will sizzle like bacon when you get in your car, unless you go to Mother's Window Tint, home of the Tint and Alarm Special, where you can also buy a new car stereo. Since 1984, Mother's Window Tint has tinted cars and trucks to keep them cooler and stop the sun from damaging their interiors. Texans like dark privacy window tint. Come to Mother's and get some. Legal and guaranteed a lifetime. Remember to protect yourself yourself and your family. Buy an auto alarm today from Mother's. Starter kill, remote start, GPS locator, 24-hour live monitoring. Save $100 on the tint and alarm package of your choice. Austin and San Antonio stores, motherswindowtint.com. Remember, do it at Mother's and save.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at the reopening of Edwin Watts. We've weathered the storm, and now we're open. Come visit our newly remodeled store featuring GC quads in every hitting bay. Check out the new arrivals from all the top brands like Ping, TaylorMade, Titleist, and Callaway. Edwin Watts has the largest selection of shoes, bags, balls, apparel, and more in stock. Swing by our newly remodeled store and get custom fit for free today. Edwin Watts is the home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, and shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
This is the home of the Cowboys, Rangers, and Aggie football. KCDC, San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. Jason Minix, the Blitz.
It is the Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. I'm Jason Minix. Glad to have you along on this Friday afternoon. James Pledger producing as always. Lots to get into over the next couple hours here on the Blitz on your Friday afternoon as we take you into Texas Rangers baseball. We'll talk some Dallas Cowboys training camp in about an hour. RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com will join us coming up at 6 o'clock. Get the latest on the Cowboys. There's some interesting Spurs news that we're going to talk about as well. Some more rumors involving a DeMar DeRozan. Also, interesting news, if you will, on as we prepare for the draft, which is next Thursday, and certain players that are spending quite a bit of time in San Antonio. And in fact, one report talks about Kai Jones getting more personal time with the San Antonio Spurs than anybody since Tim Duncan. I mean, if you want to read the tea leaves and see where the Spurs might be going, that's certainly a place to look. Brent Pledge, were you having trouble getting a hold of Brent?
Yeah, reaching out, got a voicemail, continuing to effort him currently, but as of right now, no Brent.
All right. Well, we're tracking down Brent Zorneman, who has been busy. He's been extremely busy.
It's not like anything huge happened.
He is the one that broke the story about Texas and OU going to the SEC. He was booked to be on the show yesterday and had to cancel last minute because obviously some things were going on. And he is with us now. Brent Zorneman of the Houston Chronicle, one of the busiest mans at SEC Days, joining us here on the Blitz. Brent, how you doing, man?
Jason, man, I just walked into my home after being gone almost a week from SEC Media Days here. Of course, those were in Hoover, Alabama, and we like to carpool and drive across SEC country. So I just walked in my door in Bryan College Station, and I'm glad to be home. So good to talk to you.
I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's been a busy couple of days, and Brent, you broke the story that has turned college football on its ear with Texas and OU trying to leave the Big 12 to go to the SEC. And as the story has developed over the last couple of days, and, whether you'll tell me or not, but my perception is hearing that A&M was left out of some conversations, high-level SEC conversations, because they knew they would be against it. I'm guessing when they found out, your sources there kind of let you know about it to break the story, trying to derail this train.
Yeah, it does seem like A&M was not as aware of perhaps you would think they would have been via the SEC, not necessarily Texas and Oklahoma, but from the SEC side of things. And there is some debate on how long this has gone on. My thought is that this has all happened pretty quickly. But honestly, this stemmed. It wasn't. I have gotten a little bit of a kick out of some writers from the national perspective writing. Well, this was obviously orchestrated by Texas A&M to get the word out and everything. It stemmed from me writing on the 10-year anniversary of Bowen Lofton, A&M's president, saying that the Big 12 was in a state of uncertainty on July 21st, 2011. And I had reached out to all these old contacts I'd had from years back, decades back. And, some I had kept in touch with, some I hadn't kept in touch with as much. And just, telling stories, talking to a variety of people. And that's what it stemmed from. So the timing of it was pretty wild in terms of A&M being at the SEC Media Days. But I kind of get a kick out of the idea that it was this well-oiled, orchestrated deal, because if they'd have seen me scrambling around with my laptop and walking outside the Winfrey Hotel trying to get Wi-Fi and hooking up my hotspot and all those things, I actually would have had the story much sooner if I could have done all those things. So it just happened to be that way. And really, Jason, honestly, I'd been looking forward to Wednesday because it was Nick Saban, it was Jimbo Fisher, it was especially Mike Leach for his first time at the SEC Media Days. And then everything kind of went haywire from there. But the train was pretty far down the tracks already at that time, too. And, as my insider had said, Mike can expect an announcement within even a couple of weeks, that this is going to happen, that Oklahoma and Texas are going to go to the SEC.
Brent Zorneman from the Houston Chronicle, and obviously you read him in the San Antonio Express News as well, joining us here on the Blitz on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. Prime example of enterprising journalism, uncovering a major story. I'm surprised that these talks apparently have been going on for so long that they are this far down the road. I've read your reports, and now you're seeing all the other reports, the Feinbaums, that an announcement could come within 24 to 48 hours. And the idea that obviously not this football season, but next football season, we could have a whole new looking, powerful SEC.
Yeah, there is some precedence here too, because I feel kind of fortunate right now to have covered A&M's move from the Big 12 to the SEC up close and personal, because I've seen all this before. I've seen how it comes out and suddenly it's accelerated and things were awkward for all parties involved, and they want to get things moving along. And if you recall, Texas A&M was supposed to be in the Big 12 for another couple of years. They were going to draw that out and fulfill their obligations and things like that. But it was so awkward with the idea that you would have this lame duck program hanging around, waiting to go to the SEC, that they accelerated things. And suddenly within a year, they're competing in the Big 12. They joined the SEC. They joined the SEC on July 1st, 2012. After that announcement, what I told you about Lofton, that was less than a year after. I could certainly see that playing out. I know there's TV rights and all those things, but I also know all things are negotiable. And then if you start saying the remaining 8 Big 12 teams are looking around and the Pac-12 says, hey, come on, let's form a 20-team conference over here, then they want to accelerate that as well and be with somebody who wants them. So, yeah, I would not see it – a really long way of saying I do not see it drawn out to 2025 when the TV rights and all those things are up as well. I think it will be accelerated just like it was accelerated for A&M and then Missouri 10 years ago at this time.
Brent Zorneman from the Chronicle joining us here on San Antonio Sports Star. And you look at that, and obviously, yeah, the Big 12 without Texas and OU, without their anchor stores, if you will, can't survive the way it stands. I imagine something will happen, and all the other schools are trying to go where they're going. But let's focus on Texas and OU going to the SEC. Clearly, by the comments made by the A&M athletic director, that would be one no vote. And it would take 4 no votes for this not to happen. Are there 3 other no votes? Does A&M have 3 friends that will vote against this happening? In other words, could this fall apart, or is this so far down the road, it's all but a done deal?
Jason, I'm not even sure that there's going to be one no vote at this point, in the sense that the other programs early on, A&M was hoping maybe like a Missouri, LSU, Arkansas, the closer programs would say, okay, no, this isn't a good idea. But everything I've learned from their side of things is that they consider it good for the SEC to add these kind of 2 traditional powerhouses to the program to strengthen it and become that first super conference. And maybe even A&M's going to pull out all the stops, have the politicians involved, and so forth, and wage a campaign, just like Baylor did a decade ago, versus A&M. But in the end, it might be a situation where it could end up a 14-0 vote. But I would expect it to be at minimum 13-1.
And that's kind of the way I looked at it. When being at SEC Media Days of all places, when you break this story, I mean, you've got access to everybody. I did find it interesting on Wednesday. There were no denials. There was no, that's not true. It wasn't any of that. So you kind of knew, all right, this is ultimately happening. What was it like being in the firestorm, hearing all the different buzz from either the other reporters, the ADs, and the coaches that were there?
Yeah, we finally got the story posted after everything I told you we went through to get to that point, I kind of said I was in a sweat literally from having been outside, and trying to get things taken care of. And I come in and I just kind of sit down in the main ballroom, and that's where I don't know if Jimbo was up exactly at that point or whatever, but I do remember seeing just kind of a buzz start taking place and people looking down, because you know how we all are now. We're instantly connected to everything. And if somebody doesn't see it, then somebody else sends it to them, or their family members back home send it to them. So you start seeing this, and the next thing you know, they're all going after Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner. And I'd already talked to him on Radio Row. I'd caught up to him, asked him about it. He looked rather surprised when I first threw that out, and then offered up a no comment, as pretty much he's done since. So yeah, then it was chaos, but A&M was up at that time, and Ross Bjork was on hand, the athletic director, and he had planned to come along, all along. This had been in the works for a while, and it had nothing to do with this news. But Ross Bjork, being the usual accessible person that he is, he stood around and he took questions on it and said that A&M is not for this, and A&M, there had been a gentleman's, I don't know that he said that at that time about the gentleman's agreement, but that A&M understood that it was going to be the standalone SEC school in the state of Texas. But, when that gentleman's agreement came about a decade ago, things were a little different in college football. Mike Slive has passed on. Greg Sankey is in leadership now, and things have changed. I guess, A&M's big contention would be, why were they kept in the dark for so long while this was going on?
And that's a legitimate gripe if I'm Texas A&M. Whether you thought I would be for it or against it, and you assumed I would be against it, you still have to include us in the conversation. There is it does come across as not everybody is treated as an equal partner. And I know what you're going to say, so we're not even going to invite you to the meeting because you're going to hold up production on this. And they want Texas and OU. When you've talked to those within the SEC, what have been the main reasons why Texas and OU are attractive to the conference?
Yeah, and maybe they could, from their perspective, they're saying, well, this is the part where we now include you, because all the previous talks were preliminary. So maybe that's the approach. But from the common sense perspective, to answer your question, they're saying, okay, and as we know, the SEC has long been on the cutting edge of things. And, there's a reason it's the most powerful football conference in the nation. Suddenly you had the chance to add UT, OU, two teams that are traditional football powerhouses. I know it's been a struggle for the Longhorns over the past decade, but they certainly have the long-term pedigree. Or do you want them to go elsewhere? Do you want them to go to the ACC or the Big Ten? And it's a no-brainer from the SEC's end. Suddenly they can be that first 16-team super conference, and they're not going to pass on that opportunity when the Longhorns and the Sooners come calling.
And that's the actual part. Texas and Oklahoma got together and approached the SEC. It wasn't one or the other. It's they had their conversations and then went to the SEC. Is that correct?
It is, and that's why when I hear that, well, are you sure Oklahoma's all the way on board? Yeah, they were in lockstep on this deal in terms of wanting to make this happen and looking for that kind of long-term stability. Also with the idea that the expanded playoff to a dozen teams now allows them a better chance. I'm not saying a better chance than if they were just in the Big 12, but a decent chance to make the playoffs. So suddenly you're in the SEC and you have a decent chance of being one of those 12 teams. They're going to jump on that. If playoffs weren't expanding, I don't think that they would have left, because it obviously would make it much, much harder to be in a 16-team SEC and try to earn one of 4 spots in the playoffs every year, especially when you're talking about programs like Alabama and Georgia and Florida being part of the mix as well, and LSU and A&M and on down the line. But when it's a dozen teams, that also changes the perspective as well.
It certainly does. Brent Zorneman from the Houston Chronicle with us here on the Blitz. Does it stop here, or do you think the SEC tries to add some other teams?
I haven't heard that in the immediacy, and my thought all along, and maybe I'm already outdated on this, but was that, you have eventually 4 16-team super conferences. So maybe it does become a deal where it becomes an arms race, and suddenly you're going east and trying to add Florida State and Clemson and programs like that. I don't see that immediately. I think they feel like they're going to have their hands full just trying to kind of get this all worked out and reach those 16 teams. And 16 teams is a whole lot of, schools to take care of already. So in the immediacy, I don't see that. And then you might see down the line, the things I hear is, the eventual break off from the NCAA. So maybe that's all in the works, but I also don't see that within the next couple of years. But I do see this, even if they're saying, hey, they could wait till 2025. I think this plays out with the Longhorns and Sooners it might even be next year, where SEC Media Days is 16 teams going to the podium as opposed to 14.
I don't see this waiting. I mean, just from the common sense part of it, if you're Texas or Oklahoma and right now recruiting, and we know how it is. One of the reasons why A&M likes being the only Texas school in the SEC is because when they're recruiting a kid, hey, do you want to come to the SEC, play at Texas A&M? We put guys in the NFL, and the Big 12 can't make that argument. How do you get, hey, man, come play in the Big 12. We're great. We're so great. We're leaving. I mean, this has to happen pretty damn quick, I think, for Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah, just think how weird that would be if in 2024, we're talking about 3 years from now, 3.5 years from now, Texas and Oklahoma are somehow playing in Big 12 competition. I just don't see that, especially in this day and age when everything moves so rapidly. Everything is negotiable. I know that there's some long-term contracts and things like that on the TV end that need to be taken care of, but based on what I saw a decade ago, and I know that's much smaller scale, and you're talking about one program at that time. Of course, Missouri joined the fun along the way. Things got picked up and accelerated rapidly. I can remember even covering that Texas A&M team in the 2011 season. It was just really awkward. It's a weird feeling when you went on the road, when you traveled with the Yankees and covered the games on the road. I can remember going to Iowa State, and they'd always given me a close parking spot at Iowa State. That year I was off, and man, it was way out. It might not even have been in the Ames city limits, and I remember trudging through a field and it had been raining. I'm going, okay, all right, good one, Iowa State, and I'm like, hey, I'm just covering A&M. I'm not part of Texas A&M. So I just had to laugh at things like that. And I just remember how the whole situation was awkward that last year for the Aggies. And by the next season, they were competing in the SEC.
Yeah, well, that's it. You can't be lame ducks. It doesn't make sense. I do anticipate, though, and there's been various reports that whatever the new SEC looks like, Texas and Texas A&M will play every year, and so will Texas and OU. I'm not sure how they're going to do the divisions and break everything up, but, by all accounts, Ross Bjork is not happy about having to play Texas. Will A&M embrace this over time?
They're going to have to, and the other part of that is, and I know you said Ross Bjork not happy about playing, but and I think he'll come around. He's a tough dude. He's a competitor and all that. Once he sees what this is all about, I mean, he's not from here. He didn't grow up on this game, and an awful lot of people in Texas did, and an awful lot of people in Texas are looking forward to the renewing of the rivalry. And once he gets a taste of that, I think he'll be more on board. Whether the game's in College Station, whether the game's in Austin, it's something this entire state looks forward to. And that was what excited me the most, is when I heard this, and what excited me the most 10 years ago about A&M going to the SEC was the SEC road trips. And those have proven to be what I had hoped. And when I heard this, my first thought was, hey, that means the Longhorns and Aggies are going to be playing every year. And they're certainly not going to do it where it's every other year or every few years. This is a game that needs to be played annually. It needs to be on Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving weekend. And the schools realize that, and the SEC realizes that because of the money involved. Because, at some point you got to start wondering where all the money's going to come from, especially with the NIL in place and money that that maybe in the old days went to your programs or went to your athletic departments or your universities, now going straight into athletes' pockets. They got to start thinking along these lines. And so certainly you would see the Aggies and Longhorns play every year, and I think you're going to see the Aggies and Sooners play every year as well.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, the new SEC, just seeing it on paper and the idea of what is coming, and I think we all agree it is coming, all but a done deal, a mere formality at this point. Just make the official announcements and let's go. It's going to be incredible. I mean, the SEC is just strengthening what they have as the best football conference, and quite frankly, athletics. I mean, all the other sports involved as well. It's going to be incredible times, and it comes down to money. And I agree with you. We've talked about it over the last couple of days. The expansion of the playoffs has really led to this, and the ones that are negative, and you haven't been at home, but I'm sure your texts and stuff are blowing up. At College Station, my friends that are either Aggies that are here in San Antonio or Aggies in College Station right now, they're beside themselves. And I'm like, dude, this is all positive. I understand why you're upset. But at the same time, A&M right now is kind of big brothering for the first time over Texas and saying, all right, now you want to follow us. I see. And I think they should take that attitude as opposed to the little brother, no, we want to be the only SEC team from the state of Texas.
Yeah, they were onto something. Aggies can make the point you just did. They were onto something 10 years ago that now the Longhorns are finally realizing or have kind of known all along, but kind of felt like they could do their own thing along the way, and they did. And obviously the Longhorn Network, let's be honest, has not been what they had hoped. And so, and this is just one of those things. I don't have any insider information on this, but you would certainly think that all plays into the role with ESPN then maybe blending the Longhorn Network into the SEC network and ESPN overall and so forth. And obviously, you have some tremendous studios and everything else in place in Austin. So all that makes sense from that end that you add it all together. And I did get a kick, Jason, out of the idea that the morning after the story broke, less than 24 hours later, the SEC network itself, the league's network, official network, is posting scenarios of pods and divisions, and including Oklahoma and Texas in those scenarios. And you see it up on the screen. And you just kind of chuckle because, they're obviously moving right along with it as well, even the SEC's official network.
Well, and again, the journalism part of it and the talk show part of it, you have to play that game because that's what everybody is talking about it. But clearly they didn't get a memo that said, hey, ignore this and go from there. It's interesting, man. Congrats, Brent, on breaking maybe the story of the year. I mean, for you to get that, there at SEC Media Days. I love kind of hearing the background of all the crap you were going to just to get it posted. Did you have the feeling that you were racing anybody with this story, or did you know you had this thing all alone and it was just a matter of time?
Interesting that you say that because, yes, I had been alerted that if I didn't break it soon, it was going to pop up from somewhere else. So it was a little bit of a race against time. There certainly was not a comfortable feeling of saying, hey, just whenever I get around to getting this posted by any means. And the other part of that, Jason, is as soon as I asked Greg Sankey about it, it's out there as well. And it was a one-on-one situation, so it wasn't like anybody was leaning in listening. But I also know he has some confidants and things like that. So it was also a race against time to then get reaction from Texas and Oklahoma and get it out there before he then starts filling in some of his guys and it's posted, that, hey, this is taking place. So yeah, it was, I was in a deep sweat, let me put it that way, but it all worked out in the end.
Well, and I can tell you, I mean, the story posts, I see the story, and hearing your version of what happened from my end, I see the story, I'm reading it, holy crap. I text you, and not 3 minutes after I think I texted you to try to get you on, I hear you asking Jimbo Fisher a question on the SEC Media Days. And I'm like, dude, you posted this and you're right back to work. You're not sitting back going, hey, what's the reaction going to be? Just right into Jimbo's press conference, and I was like, yeah, he's not going to respond for a while. He's in the middle of Jimbo's thing, and then he's going to have to do all that writing afterwards.
Yeah, the previous question, I'd raised my hand And the previous question was, Jimbo, did you see the report in the Houston Chronicle? And so Jimbo said, that's when he said, drop that line about, I bet they would.
Yep.
And so then, he answers that. Everybody has their laugh about he bet that Oklahoma and Texas would like to join the SEC. And then they go to me and I say, hey, tell me about that offensive line. So it's back to football right at that moment, because obviously my question had been asked. So anyway, I did get a kick out of that I'm suddenly asking an innocuous offensive line question, which is their biggest issue moving forward, by the way. So anyway, yeah, it was certainly a memorable day I will not forget for a long time.
I bet not, man. Congrats on breaking that story. Appreciate the time. And, we'll have you back before the season starts to talk about that offensive line and actual A&M football as we get closer to the start of the season.
I would look forward to that as well. I don't think I've ever looked more forward to the stability of game weeks than in 2021, Jason.
Definitely. After last year, for sure, man. Brent Zorneman, proud Sam Houston State Bearcat. Always appreciate the time, my friend. We'll talk soon.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
Brent Zorneman from the Houston Chronicle. You heard from Brent. You heard his background, even more details than what you have read. You want to react to it? Dial us up on the Kielbasa Bacon phone lines, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. On Twitter, I am at Jason Minix. We'll take your calls. Talk some Spurs and the draft, which is less than a week away as we continue here on the Blitz. It is a Friday. You all have your weekend plans. None of you plan on getting arrested, or at least I hope none of you plan on getting arrested, but some of you will. People get arrested every day for all kinds of reasons. If you get arrested, you want to get out of jail fast, best way to do that is to call my good friend Albert and his great staff at AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. Text the word bail to 474747, or you can even start the bonding process online at mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else to get out of jail. A lot of reasons for that. And you don't want to be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you a PR bond, make sure you really understand what all those conditions are before accepting it. Your best option, AA Best Bail Bonds. For stress-free bail bonds, because nobody beats their price. They have payment plans available. They offer a free shuttle service. They're discreet and confidential and open 24/7 offices all over San Antonio and Texas. So if you're up in Dallas, down in Corpus, in the Valley, anywhere in between, license number 149. Call AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. Text the word bail to 474747 or go online, mybestbailbonds.com.
ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
I'm James Pledger, and in the NFL, Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper and defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence are among 6 players that have been placed on the physically unable to perform list to start training camp. Cooper underwent ankle surgery back in January, while Lawrence has long had back problems and had a cleanup procedure this offseason, according to Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy. In other NFL news, according to the NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, the league has notified all 32 teams that if a game can't be rescheduled due to COVID-19 outbreaks that stem from unvaccinated players on the team, then that team will forfeit the game and a loss will be added to their record. Finally, in the NBA, the draft is next Thursday as the Spurs continue to do their homework leading up to it, as they have a workout schedule with projected lottery pick Tennessee guard Keon Johnson. I'm James Pledger for San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Looking for a protein-packed snack to power you through the day? Of course you are. Only Southern Recipe small batch pork rinds have the bold flavors that stand out in the Me Too snack aisle. Sea salt and cracked black pepper, pineapple ancho chili, pasilla chili cheese, and more. Take your snacking to higher flavor levels with Southern Recipe small batch pork rinds. And keto fans, you're going to love this low-carb crunch. Visit your local H-E-B and southernrecipesmallbatch.com to see the power of the rinds.
Southern Recipe pork rinds.
Not all pizza places are the same. Mellow Mushroom originated hand-tossed, stone-baked classic Southern pizza. Not in the mood for pizza? Order a calzone, hoagie, sandwich, burger, or a mellow salad and see how care goes into every item on the menu. Take your pick from 24 draft beers and or handcrafted cocktails. And many of the pizzas can be made gluten-free or vegan. Mellow Mushroom is at 1604 in Stone Oak Parkway. Hang with friends, watch the game, and mellow out at Mellow Mushroom.
Howdy, San Antonio. Chip Ingram from the Roo Pub and the Angry Elephant, inviting you to come out and enjoy patio season. We have newly remodeled patios, garage doors, and everything else you need to enjoy this great South Texas weather. As always, ice cold beer and specialty drinks. Happy hours daily from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And our kitchen is open from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. See you soon at the Roo Pub and the Angry Elephant at 281 and Redland Road.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Welcome to Texas, where your backside will sizzle like bacon when you get in your car, unless you go to Mother's Window Tint, home of the Tint and Alarm Special, where you can also buy a new car stereo. Since 1984, Mother's Window Tint has tinted cars and trucks to keep them cooler and stop the sun from damaging their interiors. Texans like dark privacy window tint. Come to Mother's and get some. Legal and guaranteed a lifetime. Remember to protect yourself and your family. Buy an auto alarm today from Mother's. Starter kill, remote start, GPS locator, 24-hour live monitoring. Save $100 on the tint and alarm package of your choice. Austin and San Antonio stores. MothersWindowTint.com. Remember, do it at Mother's and save.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish is...
It's pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
This is The Blitz with Jason Minix and the brightest sports insiders. San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
I'm just going to continue to just watch James Pledger air drum. It is The Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. I'm Jason Minix. Glad to have you along on this Friday. You got weekend plans? I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do this weekend. I've got some ribs going on the Traeger right now. If you're going to fire up the grill this weekend, make sure you take a photo and upload it at what's our new website? sasportstar.com?
That is correct.
sasportstar.com. Upload it. You could win a $50 gift card from Tri-County Meat Market. We do grilling with the Blitz every Thursday at 6 o'clock, and that includes next Thursday when we're out at Dallas Cowboys training camp. Our AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp all next week. R&R in the morning. Rob Thompson, Rudy Johnson, as we've completed our first week essentially with the new lineup. Rob and Rudy in the morning with R&R in the morning, Greeny at 10, at noon, halftime with Rob Thompson and Carl Schoening. Then you got Kellerman, then the Blitz. Got Saturday morning hangover still tomorrow morning with James Pledger and whoever decides to wake up with you. Sundays laying down the law. And then the Sunday Sports Grill, the amount of local programming that we have added is just awesome. It's exciting. Hope you guys have enjoyed the first week as we iron things out. I'm glad that Rudy made it to work today, because last night we tied one on pretty good out at Slacker Sports and Arcade Bar, and that's just practice for Rudy for next week while we're out in Oxnard, California.
One more local programming note. Don't forget, we also got the Post Up with Brandon Medina and Jack Thompson. That's going to be airing this Saturday at 4 o'clock.
This Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You just find a hole and put it in there. All right, Saturday at 4 o'clock. By the way, I saw Brandon yesterday. Does that dude have a real job? Like, he walked in with a sport coat, and I'm sure he was thrown up at Slackers. I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I did not know who he was until he was looking at me. Hey, man, dude.
Has a kid, has a real job, has a wife now.
Man, you grow up fast. Wonder how the Texas Tech alum is feeling about the Big 12 right now as it is about to fall apart. If you missed any of Brent Zorneman, interesting conversation with BZ on him breaking that story, how it all went down, and then, of course, everything he has heard in the 2 days since. If you missed it, make sure you check the Audio Vault, the AA Best Bail Bonds Audio Vault. They're at sasportstar.com. You know, the NBA draft is in less than a week. It is next Thursday. And while we will be at Dallas Cowboys training camp, we will continue to talk Spurs as we're leading up to the draft. And Pledge, you're kind of our draft expert, if you will. Now, I like Kai Jones, and a lot of people, will say, yeah, it's only because he's a Longhorn. The Spurs apparently like themselves some Kai Jones as well.
I like me some Kai Jones as well, because he's everything that we've talked about this offseason that the Spurs need. He is a bouncy big. He is 6'11", 221 pounds. He has a almost 7'2" wingspan. He can switch to multiple positions on the perimeter, which we saw was a very bad thing last year when Jakob Poeltl got exposed in the pick and roll out on the perimeter. So he can switch on to smaller players. He can stay involved defensively. He shot 38% from three this past season, and that's up over 9 percentage points from his freshman year. And you can tell that he's got the base for a shot to be developed. Now, when they draft him, how much do I expect to see of him in his first year? That remains to be seen. But in terms of the needle pointing upwards, like his sky's the limit for what Kai Jones could potentially be in the NBA one day.
Well, when you look at where the Spurs are drafting, and you talk about sky's the limit, sure. Can they afford to draft a guy this year that's going to spend more time in Austin? I mean, the upside for him is he already has a place in Austin. He already knows his way around Austin. He likes Austin, I guess. But can the Spurs, with a lottery pick, draft an Austin Spur? Or my feeling is no. I like Kai Jones. I don't know if he'll be an impact player this year. Now, everything the Spurs do in the draft, and this is where things are a little ass backwards, what happens with DeMar DeRozan? All the players that can opt in and opt out, they do that August 1st, I think is the day. So then the draft is
2
next
days
Thursday.
before. Yeah.
So they know what they're going to do with DeMar. They probably have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen with DeMar. I'll say that. I don't want to say they know, but they probably have a pretty good idea if there is a sign and trade in the works, because there's more DeMar rumors going to the Lakers. And again, the Lakers, they're going to go on some kind of crazy shopping spree, it feels like, and they want veteran players. I think DeMar would be a nice fit in LA. I think he would be a good fit, as Rob and I have talked about many times, with the New York Knicks. I could even see him going to Miami. But if DeMar DeRozan wants to win a championship, he needs to go to the Lakers. That's going to be his best shot at getting a ring. But they're also talking about Chris Paul. They're talking about Russell Westbrook. All kinds of people are getting rumored to the Lakers with the same Kuzma combination going elsewhere. And when the Spurs do draft, don't they have to draft with an idea of what's going to happen with DeMar, and if they do a sign and trade, what they're going to get in return. Because as I sit right now, just going with what I know, I don't want to draft a Kai Jones and have him play for the Austin Spurs. I need to find somebody that can make an impact player for this year's team. Hell, somebody that can shoot a three. And I like Corey Kispert. I think he'll be available.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would draft him, but if he's there, he's a guy that could come in and shoot. I think a lot of people will bring up the Baylor game and go, well, yeah, okay, well, that was one game. I know the guy can shoot. He can shoot threes. He can stretch the floor, and he can have an impact on the San Antonio Spurs next year, not the Austin Spurs. I mean, he'll get his Austin time, but he'll get more time in San Antonio.
The problem with that is, at best, Corey Kispert projects into being like a Doug McDermott, serviceable role player type guy. Kai Jones could be a potential all-star at some point in his career with the athleticism and shot making that he has. So I look at it more like Devin Vassell this year. We didn't get to see a whole lot of him either, and he was playing as well as he could have, especially defensively, which usually earns you minutes on the court. Now, the draft pick can spend time burning the road up between Austin and San Antonio. I think where you go get your shooting is you go get NBA-ready shooters like a Doug McDermott, who will be a free agent, like a Bobby Portis, like a Lauri Markkanen, like a John Collins. Like, you address those needs that will help the actual team, since you have the second most amount of cap space during free agency. And in the draft, you go after somebody that you think will develop into a legit all-star.
We kind of said the same thing about Lonnie, and he hasn't quite developed the way everybody thought. I won't be surprised if Lonnie gets traded, to be honest. I look at a Jalen Johnson as a potential guy, maybe Isaiah Jackson if he's still available. Yeah, on Patella Franklin on Facebook Live says you don't need to draft for DeRozan's replacement. He's been playing out of position. Sure, I'm not saying they're drafting his replacement, but position-wise, I'm just saying, what are you doing with DeMar as you're constructing your team? And you've got to replace him in one way or another, whether it's through free agency, what you might get back if you do a sign and trade. If he walks, you're going to have a ton of money to spend. You have your short list of players that you're going to go get, or that you're going to try to go get. But what I worry about with the Spurs and all this money that they have, they've got to find guys that are willing to come to San Antonio, which has been an issue historically. Now, granted, 20 years of the big three, there hasn't been a need for major free agent signings. But at the same time, all the big name guys that everybody talks about, yeah, they're going to sign with teams that have a chance to go win a championship. And so, where you go shopping here, I don't think you're going to be at the premium store with all this money that the Spurs are going to have. You're going to be at the outlet mall. You're going to be looking for bargains, maybe veteran guys that want to come in and be a part of a rebuilding system. And as hard as it is to say in San Antonio, the Spurs are in rebuild mode. They are not in a championship position, and nor will they be in the next couple of years.
And that's why I think in free agency, you spend money, because they will come for the money if you go after those guys, like I mentioned, like McDermott or Markkanen, because they aren't going to command huge money. That way you can address the need of the floor spacing by buying your shooters, which opens up the offense for the guys that are the slashers, like DeJounte and Keldon, the guys that get to the bucket. Because last season we saw people would pack the paint and dare them to shoot the three because they know they couldn't at a high percentage.
And when we re-sign Patty Mills, can he be FIBA Patty?
Can you draw up plays for like they do for FIBA Pay? Because you see him doing things for that Australian team that they don't do unless it's an out-of-bounds play for a final shot.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, every year we see Patty Mills playing for Team Australia. Don't we go, well, why don't we get that? I mean, can the Spurs not put together some things that clearly play to his strengths? I didn't watch the Olympic opening ceremony this morning. Quite frankly, I forgot it was on. I wake up in the morning and I'm not thinking, I got to turn into the Olympics. I did see some photos. Congrats to Patty. The photos of him walking in with the flag were pretty damn cool. I really appreciated the entire U.S. contingent singing happy birthday to Kevin Durant, even though it's not his birthday. And Kevin Durant seemed mad. Instead of playing along. If you haven't seen the video, go do it. It's the highlight of the Olympics right now. I wonder who thought it was his birthday. But everybody was singing happy birthday, yet he looked angry. He didn't play along. He just looked like, well, surly.
Somebody commented earlier that Team USA was just trying to get the free dessert.
Hey, they might have been. I mean, sure, let's everybody sing happy birthday. You could have had so much fun with that moment, yet Kevin Durant just refused to do that. Certainly doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's jump to the Kia Bossa Bacon phone lines pledge. I know we're late for the break, but Steve is on line one, wants to talk Spurs and the draft coming up. So let's get Steve on. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Happy Friday. Just wanted to pick your brain. I know y'all are all over this. I haven't heard anything of the Spurs working out like a Scotty Barnes or a Kuminga. So if that's the case, are we assuming that the Spurs aren't looking to trade up in any of those spots to try to snag one of those guys?
Well, it's always tough to assume anything, but if they're not working out any of those guys, and then you can assume that maybe in any kind of conversations they've had, moving up wasn't a possibility. The other part of it, sometimes when you're talking about some of those top picks, you don't need to go work them out. You already know them. And the way everything works now with the various camps, you've probably had one-on-one conversations with those guys. You know, somebody in the Spurs management or scouting department has probably already spent time with those guys. They have a pretty good feel for them. So you don't want to spend a lot of time and resources on a player that you're likely not going to have an opportunity to get, where when you're drafting where they are, you don't know how the dominoes are going to fall. And if you're unsure about some guys, you spend a lot of time with them. You know, Kai Jones talking about multiple visits, doing 3-on-3 workouts. The only team that has worked him out 3-on-3 apparently is the San Antonio Spurs. They took him out to a nice dinner where he had a fancy salmon, very tasty salmon, I'm sure it was. But I do think, though, that you spend your time and resources at this point with the more likely people you're going to get. They got enough info on those top guys, and if you don't really have a shot at them, even if you trade up, you can do homework in a hurry over the next couple of days. But I don't know that I want to read too much into that, but the idea of the Spurs actually trading up, I really don't see that happening, to be honest. And by their actions, neither do they. I was at Tri-County earlier today, Tri-County Meat Market, and the guys that work there, that own the place, and some of the employees there, they're in an interesting fantasy league that I joined. It's a bad quarterback fantasy league. The rules are all over the place. And I'm curious. I'll tell you a little bit about it. It sounds fun. I've heard of these, but not really. But what other kind of weird fantasy leagues do you play as opposed to your traditional leagues? I want to know. 656-ESPN, 656-3776. You can dial us up on the Kia Bossa Bacon phone lines. RJ Ochoa will join us coming up at 6 o'clock. We'll get the latest from RJ on Dallas Cowboys training camp. If you're shopping for a new vehicle, there's no better place to go than Ancira Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram truck, part of the Ancira Auto Complex. Jason Minix here. Easy for me to tell you about how great Ancira is and recommend them because I am a longtime Ancira customer. I know how well they're going to take care of you before, during, and most importantly, after the sale. That great customer service is why Ancira has been a top family-run dealership in San Antonio for decades. They're going to make sure you're getting the vehicle you want with all the options and features that you're looking for. They'll give you great value on your trade-in, the best rebates and financing options that are available, and of course, their service after the sale is second to none. And you know price made Ancira number one. Price keeps Ancira number one. So think Ancira. Ancira Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram truck, part of the Ancira Auto Complex on I-10 West between Wurzbach and Huebner.
San Antonio Sports Star has your connection to the biggest stars in music. Keep listening to win your way in free to see John Mayer live in concert, April 20th, 2022 at Moody Center in Austin. From San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
If your brakes are bad or you think they're going bad, do us all a favor and get them fixed. Jason Minnick's here for New Brakes. NUBrakes.com is the website. They're a mobile brake shop. That means they will come to you to fix your brakes. We're all busy. None of us have time to go spend hours waiting at a repair shop or want to deal with the hassle of dropping your car off and going back to get it the next day. That is the beauty of New Brakes. They come to you, your home, your office, wherever you are, and they provide convenient and affordable brake repairs, and they only fix brakes. So you're not going to get upsells like at a traditional repair shop. Most repairs are done in less than an hour, and they use premium brake parts, and they back all repairs with a 24-month, 24,000-mile warranty. Save 10% when you mention my name or ESPN when you schedule that repair at NUBrakes.com. Your brakes are bad. Get them fixed. Get them fixed with New Brakes. They're great at what they do. Go read all their 5-star reviews and schedule your repair now at NUBrakes.com. That's NUBrakes.com.
This summer, soccer is on at Twin Peaks. Get to Twin Peaks to catch the final legs of Copa America and UEFA Euro 2020. Then, the 2021 CONCACAF Gold Cup is just heating up, taking us through August the 1st with tons of games to watch. The best part? The sweet deals you're going to find at Twin Peaks. All day long, come grab $3.99 shot tequila, $5 house margaritas, $5 22-ounce drafts, some Dos Equis or Modelo, and more. Come kick it with us. Twin Peaks eats, drinks, and those scenic views.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the biggest Callaway trade-in event of the year. Starting this Thursday through Sunday, bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 75% trade-in bonus towards new Apex irons and Epic woods. Both the Apex and Epic families are designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Go to worldwidegolfshops.com or call the store nearest you to schedule your free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
If your dream vacation does not include your spouse, it might be time for a permanent getaway. Call the Divorce Dude with Polling Law PLLC. The Divorce Dude will help you get a fast, affordable, agreed divorce. But if you want to fight, the Divorce Dude will fight for you. DivorceDude.com gives you easy legal options and sticks with you every step of the way. Call George, the Divorce Dude, 210-201-0303. That's 210-201-0303 or DivorceDude.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Guys, stop what you're doing. Give me a few seconds of your time and let me give you a piece of advice that will change your love life forever. Have you noticed you've been losing a little pep in your step? Has your lady friend asked you, is everything okay? Do you find yourself having trouble rising for the occasion? Do you stress out before that special moment and wonder, is it gonna work? Guys, I'm going to let you in on a big secret. You don't ever have to worry again. The Mojo Male Enhancement Formula has you covered. Mojo is the 100% guaranteed male enhancement formula that guarantees lasting success, if you know what I mean. The Mojo Male Enhancement Formula is safe, natural, and effective every single time, guaranteed. Mojo is available in a fast-acting spray and a quick-action capsule. Do yourself and her a favor and call Pure Line Nutrition in San Antonio today. They'll get you set up for success. Call 210-494-2210. That number again is 210-494-2210. Mojo Male Enhancement, only available at Pure Line Nutrition.
When your AC fails in the San Antonio heat, there is no time to search. Save Service First in your contacts and have an AC tech on speed dial 24/7. Service First. Save us before you need us.
Have Service First in your phone, 521-1500.
A 17-week season and only one couch. Let's hope it holds up. The Cowboys are back. The explosive action happens here. San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
This is Rob Thompson. I'm your home for Dallas Cowboys football. San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
And all next week will be an Oxnard for AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys at training camp coverage, fantasy football right around the corner. I joined a new fantasy league today with my friends over at Tri-County Meat Market. They play a bad quarterback fantasy league. So basically you draft quarterbacks that suck, and the more they suck, the more points you can get. Doesn't that sound fun? So Pledge, if you were to say, So here's kind of some of the scoring rules. You get 10 points for every interception that quarterback throws, 10 points for a fumble. If they get sacked, you get 5 points. If they throw a touchdown pass, you lose 10. If they rush for a touchdown, you lose 20. But you can get 20 points. If they throw a red zone interception, that's 20 points. Red zone fumble, that's 30 points. You get 100 points if their completion percentage is under 40. You get 50 points if they get benched in the middle of the game. Who's your number one pick in the bad quarterback draft?
Number one pick in the bad quarterback draft, probably Andy Dalton.
QB1 for the Chicago Bears?
Yep. Especially the getting benched in the middle of the game part of it.
Well, it's interesting because, I'm trying to clarify rules. So it's got to be a non-injury related benching. So if you're up 28 or 14 and, and you get pulled, that's not benching. If you're Taysom Hill and you're in and out, that's part of the game plan. So we got to clarify some things. I kind of like Jameis, or do you go with the rookie with the New York Jets, the BYU kid?
Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson, Tua down in Miami. The idea that, now apparently how this works is you get 2 quarterbacks that you have to start every week, and you do play head to head. And so it's total point thing. I feel for the commissioner of this that has to add everything up all the time. And I'm going to trust said commissioner because I'm not going to take the time with this. But what about Fitztragic? Because there's going to be some games where he screws you over, but when he's Fitzmagic. But there's going to be at least 4 Fitztragic games in the Washington football team.
The problem is I don't know if he's getting benched for Tyler Heineke. Like, I would put my money on Drew Lock. Drew Lock's got Teddy Bridgewater behind him, so you have a veteran presence. He was the 32nd ranked passing grade last year by PFF, 63.4. And whether it's Deshaun or Aaron Rodgers, they've been all in on trying to find another quarterback anyway, so they aren't married to him. Drew Lock's a guy I kind of like on the sneaky low.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'll figure out where I draft in this bad league because, it's a snake draft and you do have to start 2. So at some point you're going to end up with a pretty decent quarterback on your roster.
Cam Newton also one to look out for with Mac Jones breathing down his neck already.
Oh, could you imagine Belichick benching Cam? It's going to be very interesting to see. It sounds fun. Do you guys play in any weird leagues like that have odd scoring, or you're actually rooting for suckage as opposed to greatness?
No, that's the weirdest league I've ever heard of. I'm in some dynasties and some regulars, but nothing like that.
We might have to dial up the fantasy football gods and get their thought on a league like this because it sounds fun. I'm all in. I can't wait to take all their money. But you look at it, you sit there. And, it's going to be a league where, say, Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson don't get drafted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aaron Rodgers won't get drafted.
Although, if there's an injury to one of those people, you better have like Jordan Love on your waiver wire.
It's going to be very interesting to see. Let's talk about a quarterback who won't get drafted in the bad quarterback league. That is Dak Prescott. We'll talk about Dak. He spoke today. RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com will join us next here on The Blitz. Jason Minix here for my friends over at Edwin Watts Golf Shops to let you know it's time to tee it up at their re-grand opening. After being closed for 5 months, they've weathered the storm and they're now back open and ready to serve you. You got to go check out their newly remodeled store there at 410 in Nacogdoches. It's amazing and features GC quads in every hitting bay. While you're there, check out the new arrivals from all the top brands like Ping, TaylorMade, Titleist, and Callaway. Edwin Watts is packed with the largest selection of shoes, bags, balls, apparel, and more, and it's all in stock. And their highly knowledgeable staff is ready to help you improve your game. So swing by their newly remodeled store and get custom fit for free. You can do it today, do it this weekend. Edwin Watts is at 410 in Nacogdoches. Don't forget that Edwin Watts is the home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also shop them online at worldwidegolfshops.com. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, 410 in Nacogdoches, back open to serve you.
Football in America is a special game, a unique game played like nowhere else on earth. It's a rare game. and the men that play it make it so. Lamb, Smith, Martin, and Coach Mike McCarthy. And today these men walk the gridiron with one thing in common, with one mission between them: winning. The Dallas Cowboys play here on the home of the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Hey, this is Rob Thompson for Arasti. I have a question for you. Are you stuck in pain? Are you living with something that will not let you go, like a soft tissue injuries, a sprain or a strain or a pull, frozen shoulders, plantar fasciitis, bad neck, tension headaches? All of that can be fixed remarkably quick by an Arasti provider. Now, when I bring up Arasti, people always ask me, what does that mean? I'm talking about a non-invasive procedure, not surgery. We're not talking about over-the-counter medications. We're not talking about opiates to dull the pain. I'm talking about a Arasti provider, a medical professional, getting in and fixing the problem. Soft tissue injuries can be fixed a whole lot quicker than just waiting for them to go away, and that is what's great about Arasti. You know what else is great about Arasti? You don't need a referral to go see them. You just make that call. So let me give you the number so you can go ahead and make that call and get yourself out of pain. The number is 1-800-404-6050. No referrals needed, and when you walk in that door, they do accept most insurances. Arasti is not about a long-term treatment program. We're talking about a short-term fix for what has always been a long-term problem. So don't sit around living in pain. Be like Becky Hammond. Be like Clayton Kershaw and Tony Parker, who have used Arasti to get themselves back physically into the game. If you need to get back in the game, do not let pain keep you from doing things that you love. Call an Arasti provider today, and I am sure you'll thank me later.
If you get arrested, get out of jail fast by calling AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. Text bail to 474747 or online at mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else. Don't be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you one, make sure you understand the conditions before accepting it. AA Best Bail Bonds. Nobody beats their price. They have payment plans. Call 210-225-2121 or mybestbailbonds.com.
License number 149. You know, if you look up footwear from the past, there are just some shoes that are not so great for your feet.
Ooh, these wooden shoes are killing me. Oh, now a beaver's eating them? Shoe beaver!
What a mess. Luckily, Skechers has made footwear history by designing astonishingly comfortable footwear that are good for your feet. Let's start with fit. Skechers are the fit specialists and have the perfect fit for virtually any foot shape. Skechers has wide fit, relaxed fit, stretch fit, and arch fit with podiatrist-certified arch support. Skechers teamed up with podiatrists using over 20 years of data to make arch fit, and feet worldwide are benefiting from the comfort and support. Plus, Skechers, the comfort technology company, have innovations like air-cooled memory foam, durable Goodyear rubber, and hyperburst cushioning. These promote comfort and offer incredible protection from the impact of everyday walking and running. And Skechers doesn't just care about your feet, your budget is important too. Skechers are an incredible value, plus most are machine washable and many styles are vegan. Look, you only get 2 feet, so you better take care of them in Skechers. Skechers, a fit to be tried. Find your next pair at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
If you thought Diamonds Direct's values were impressive, wait till you see what we're doing next. It's a spectacular summer store-wide sale, July 21st through 25th, with an extra 20% savings on virtually all diamond and fashion designer jewelry, from rings and earrings to bands and bracelets and so much more. We're breaking our own rules to bring you extreme value for 5 hot summer days. Get ready. 20% extra savings on a multi-million-dollar selection of fine jewelry, July 21st through 25th. Diamonds Direct, official jeweler of the Dallas Cowboys, at the shops at La Cantera.
Injuries happen, so if you twist, pull, pop, or snap something, you need Dr. David Espinosa at TSAOG Orthopedics. Dr. Espinosa treats all non-surgical orthopedic injuries and has same-day and next-day availability. Telemedicine services are also available. There is no reason to be in pain. If you are hurting, visit Dr. David Espinosa at TSAOG Orthopedics. Learn more at TSAOG.com. That's TSAOG.com, or schedule your appointment by calling 210-804-5490.
The home of the Rangers. This is Rangers Radio on KCDC. San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. Jason Minix, The Blitz.
It is The Blitz here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. I'm Jason Minix, James Pledger producing as always. About 30 minutes left in The Blitz out at 6:30 today, a little early because we got Astros and Rangers. Oh, technically, I need to say it. Rangers and Astros coming up on your home for Rangers baseball, brought to you by newbreaks.com. Yeah, wait, Pledge, you said we got some baseball tickets we've got to give away, missions tickets? Yeah. All right, before we get to RJ Ochoa. All right, what do we have?
We got Saturday and Sunday's games. Family four-pack plus parking ticket.
All right, 656-ESPN, 656-3776. First one to take Pledge a monster because he's been there since 5 a.m. We'll get those. Or, caller 7 and 8. I don't drink those
anymore.
Caller whatever. If you want to go to see the missions, beg Pledge, and he'll get you taken care of. RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com joining us now on the Blitz. Your first appearance on San Antonio Sports Star.
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say, and apparently a lot of time to say it now, or at least more than I used to have. So very excited to kind of get this in here. Number one, Pledge, you quit Monsters. Congrats. Number two, technically, I'm the first person that was on the phone with Pledge. So I technically am entitled to the tickets, but I'm willing to pass them on to whoever convinces Pledge. I think you should have picked caller like 28, Jason, just to mess with Pledge. Yeah, hey, all the new intro music and stuff. What's going on here? And look at what a sellout. Jason Minnick's big old Texas Rangers fan. Those days in Minute Maid Park apparently never happened, I guess.
No, I'm an Astro fan, but we're a Ranger affiliate, so I think I have to say it the right way. It's Ranger. We're Rangers radio. It's Rangers, and I'm an Astro fan. Although I am. So growing up, Rangers were my AL team, Astros were my NL team, and now they're in the same thing. And I do like both, but when they're playing each other, it's all go Astros.
I've actually, on the subject of your fandom for many teams, been anxious to tell you that I recently bought an old NHL game for PS4 just to kind of scratch the itch, and I started a franchise with my Boston Bruins. So it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it a lot lately.
Well, good. I'm glad that you've got all the time in the world to play video games, although now that training camp has started, and we will be in Oxnard all next week for our AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp, R&R in the morning, the Blitz in the afternoon, halftime from noon to 2. I mean, we'll have you covered at Cowboys camp all next week. RJ Ochoa will be a part of our coverage, but not from Oxnard, California. But what you have noticed over the first couple of days, anything surprise you? Let's really start from Wednesday. The emotional Jerry Jones at the opening press conference.
That was strange. I feel like I've seen Jerry Jones in a number of different lights. I feel like I've seen him, express a lot of different emotions. But willingly getting emotional like that was definitely different. And I think people took away, or people took the Jimmy comment and the Barry comment and the cursing and kind of like had their fun with that. But honestly, the thing that stood out to me the most was how he spoke about being naive. And I thought that was actually kind of beautiful in a soulful way, because I think that there's truth to that. Like there's bliss to being naive, right? Like naivete, there's innocence to that. And I loved how he kind of said, like, that's why I'm such a positive person. Like, I need to live in that. And I don't want to, read too much into it, but he struck me as somebody who's, just bummed that it hasn't worked out, to this point. And I think he hears everybody talk about them being a big old joke and not winning a title. And I admire that he wants to look at life through a lens of positivity in spite of all of that.
RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com with us here on the Blitz on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. The idea of player vaccinations is such a big story. We saw today a coach either get fired or quit with the Minnesota Vikings. I've seen reports that technically say both, but Rich Dennison out as the O-line coach of the Minnesota Vikings because he refuses to get the vaccination. We know what the commissioner's memo said about if you're unvaccinated, you cause an outbreak and your team can't play, it's a loss, and game checks will be lost. Jerry said he's got about 5 guys that haven't committed to getting the vaccination. The idea that the NFL is forcing this, I'm kind of mixed because they're not forcing it, but they're making it to the point where it's so uncomfortable for players that eventually they're going to cave. Are you concerned that this could have negative impacts in the locker room between vaccinated players and unvaccinated players?
Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't be concerned about that. I mean, Cole Beasley obviously has been quite vocal about his beliefs, got into it on Twitter today with Jerry Hughes, his teammate in Buffalo. And that's just on Twitter. I mean, so that's not even, something that was privy only to the locker room. This is a subject that everybody has a thought on, everybody has an opinion on, everybody has an experience with. And so, I certainly understand and appreciate discussing ideas and discussing differences and discussing pros and cons on however you view them. But it's interesting. I mean, I do find it to be very interesting how the NFL is now full speed ahead. We're effectively going to force you to get vaccinated or make your life very difficult. They are their own business, their own company. And so I suppose that's how they're treating their employees. But it does make for a very public discussion among some people.
It certainly does. And again, while they can't technically force the players, for coaches, they can. And we've seen at least one coach lose his gig in one way or another. But even the media, like for us to go to training camp next week in Oxnard, we've had to already fill out stuff online that proves our vaccination. We've got to show up with our vaccination cards with the negative test and then get tested while we're there. That's what we have to do to go to work and cover it. It's going to be interesting that's the story. But the report today that, the league said about 80% of the players are there. More teams are getting closer to that 85% threshold. The idea is, my guess is the majority of these guys are going to get a shot before the start of the season. Don't mess with a man's money. Don't mess with another man's money.
And something I've thought about recently is, there's all these protocols in terms of tiers and tier 1 and tier 2 and what certain tiers will have to comply with and be allowed to do. And so as I understand it, certain tiers have to wear masks on the sideline. And so right now, this is all a private thing, right? And everybody's health is a private thing. But sooner or later, we're going to be watching games and all these players are going to be on the sideline. And some are going to have masks and some are not going to have masks. And, people are going to, remember the way people used to report, like, players X, Y, and Z, did whatever for the national anthem. I mean, it's going to be players X, Y, and Z are wearing masks. And, you're going to be able to kind of, I think, do the math and say, like, well, the team reportedly was, 10% away from whatever percent, 10% of 53 is this. And unfortunately, I think people are going to do the investigative work to kind of put 2 and 2 together.
RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com here on the Blitz. Let's talk some actual football news. The Cowboys apparently are going to sign a veteran safety named Malik Hooker. He came in for a visit, didn't sign. Now they brought him back, and it looks like he is going to sign. I was excited when he came to visit because I thought he'd get it done, even though he's coming off of an injury. Addressing the safety position, whether it's Malik Hooker or somebody. I mean, do something. And do you like the idea of Malik Hooker apparently healthy enough now to sign with the Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly like the idea at least more than Rashard Robinson, which is who they released, this week to create an open roster spot. I love it. I mean, I love it. To be clear, this is not like the answer at safety, right? Like this is not going to solve all your problems. But, if you've got competition, you've got DeMonte Casey, you've got Jaron Kearse, obviously Keanu Neal's playing linebacker. You add Malik Hooker to that mix. You've got Donovan Wilson. You've got Israel Mukwamu. I mean, you've got bodies at least. And so that's a lot better than things used to be with the stars, the Saturday morning hangover, Jeff Heath patrolling back there. So ultimately, I mean, it's a positive thing. It's a new couch. It's not going to make or break your house, but you need it. And it's a focal point that a lot of people see and sit up.
It's interesting because if I remember right, didn't he and Casey come in and visit about the same time in the Went Casey, who has the relationship with Dan Quinn from his days with the Falcons? Both are coming off of Achilles injuries. And either Hooker didn't like what he saw or they went Casey, but he hasn't found another job. But like you said, at least it adds some depth and some other options at the safety position.
Yeah, and he's been pretty vocal on Twitter. He's talked about like, yeah, I want to be there, whatever, and that's a rare thing. He certainly seems like somebody who wants a chance. Played for Indianapolis. The Cowboys have a relationship with Matt Eberflus if they wanted to poke around and see if everything worked out. But he fits the mold. I mean, was a baller, absolute baller in college at Ohio State. One of the greatest safety prospects of all time. Has not really materialized into that, can be had for pennies on the dollar now. That screams Cowboys in a number of different ways. And so that might be, again, I don't want to oversell it, but that he might be the best utilization of the 90th roster spot right now.
Well, and again, that roster spot's available because they let go of Robinson, but they also worked out Holton Hill today, a cornerback. And, just the other day, Wednesday, Steven talked about how they're pretty comfortable with what they have at corner, and yet they're bringing in corners. And I know in Steven's words, it's 365, 24/7, that they're always looking to upgrade their roster. But with that extra roster spot, I like Hooker over Holton Hill, but other guys are going to be available to get sent packing, and they will get sent packing over time throughout training camp.
Yeah, and they have a lot of corners. I mean, they drafted 2 of them. You know what I mean? Like at this point, and Kelvin Joseph didn't really play in minicamp. So right now, I don't need any corner there to take snaps away from these young guys. Even people used to get Rashard and Reggie Robinson mixed up. Reggie Robinson barely played at all last year. I mean, I don't need some sort of progress stopper coming in a corner, but Malik Hooker, I mean, that's, potential game changer, which is definitely worth exploring.
The Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott spent some time on the podium today. Zeke went yesterday. Dak went today. Dak went while I was on the air, so I didn't get a chance to listen to what Dak said. I did see some things pop on Twitter, but what did you take away from QB1?
He's always been somebody who's spoken with such measured confidence, and it's always felt sincere. And I really thought last year when he showed up to his first press conference, he just, he was dealing with all the contract stuff and, first time he'd spoken since his brother's passing. And so there was a lot of attention on him, but just kind of came in and owned the moment. And that's really who Dak is. He's a superstar. He's somebody who you just kind of trust in those situations. And so that was the vibe I got. I got a vibe of he feels great from it. Like, it's amazing how his health is not even a discussion point right now. And in just a few hours after his first press conference at training camp, his contract is not a talking point after a few hours of him speaking at training camp. And so I find that to be amazing. I mean, everybody's questioning his I guess, understanding of medical laws. I don't know if medical laws are the right way to put it. But I mean, he seems like a veteran. He seems like he's always felt like somebody who was on varsity, so to speak. And then, as he's gotten older, he's felt like, okay, he's got his Letterman jacket. He's got a car. He's got the top parking spot on campus. But he walked like he doesn't need the jacket. He doesn't need the car. Like now he's just the guy that everybody knows who he is. He's the big man on campus. And it's taken a while for, aging players to move on and him to kind of just be that guy. But that was the overall impression I got from his press conference.
And it certainly is. He is the leader in the locker room. And I think part of it, too, is, he had the contract press conference. And for 3 years, it's been a major topic, especially at training camp, about when he was going to get a new deal, that he's playing on the tag and this and that and the other. And with the injury, what else can he say? He's tired of answering the questions. The reporters are tired of asking. And quite frankly, not until next week when pads go on, will he be near any kind of team drill or have the potential of getting hit. And it might be the Hall of Fame game before we really get a good answer on how the ankle is going to hold up under pressure.
Yeah, I know, Dak. He said he wanted to play in the preseason. I would bet everything you and Pledge own. I wouldn't bet anything on my own. But I would bet everything that you guys own that he doesn't touch the field in the Pro Football Hall of Fame game. I mean, number one, it's the first preseason game. Number two, it's a field that is like rarely used, let alone a field the Cowboys don't even know, that intimately. Not to mention a field that literally saw a Pro Football Hall of Fame game be canceled a few years ago. So Dak can say everything he wants. I definitely think he'll play sparingly in weeks 2 and 3, or what are weeks 1 and 2, I guess, for the NFL. But I think, we've come this far. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just, go out and burn it for a couple of preseason snaps.
Devil's advocate. Is it smarter to play him early to see how it is? Because if things don't go well, you've got time to get back up ready to go as opposed to waiting until the opener against Tampa Bay?
I mean, that wasn't how they approached the quarterback that led to Dak Prescott having his job,
True.
That's literally, they kind of flying by the seat of their pants type thing. And on the subject of that, we did some what ifs this offseason. I meant to do what if Kellen Moore never broke his ankle? The Cowboys are a very different franchise, I think, in a number of different ways right now.
All right. So, you play the what if game and you think about it, man. Remember that ankle snapped right in front of us. And then here comes Dak Prescott. You're right. I mean, if Tony Romo doesn't get hurt, Dak Prescott, where is he now?
Well, the Romo thing is more obvious, but that's why, to me, the more fascinating question is Kellen Moore. Because if Kellen Moore never gets hurt, when Romo goes down, Kellen's the backup. And who I don't think he plays well, but it's the Zeke show beyond. And Dak is just this scrub rookie. And they even brought in Mark Sanchez. And so I don't think they would have turned to a rookie in the middle of the season. I think they would have turned to another veteran in Mark Sanchez. And I think Kellen would have played poorly to the point that the Cowboys would have had to have cut him and moved on just because it would have been so bad. And he likely never sticks around and joins the coaching staff 2 years later, 3 years later, to become the team's offensive coordinator. I mean, that's, that him breaking his ankle kept him around and allowed him to show his value in the classroom, something that led to him becoming the offensive coordinator, incidentally, for the player that benefited from his ankle breaking.
Well, that broken ankle made two people a whole lot of money. And think about this as you play the what-if game. Remember, we were kept wondering in Oxnard, was Nick Foles going to show up as the veteran guy that could end up showing up there? As RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys joins us here on the Blitz, San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. About 10 minutes will get you to Rangers Astros coverage brought to you by newbreaks.com. You mentioned Zeke. The photos of Zeke coming in, he's clearly spent the offseason focused, redemption. Now, a lot of people have asked, will he get 1,000 yards? He had a bad year last year and had 979. Extra game, of course, he's going to get 1,000 yards this year. But what do you make of him at this point, year 6, hiring a personal chef, and for the first time hiring a personal running backs coach?
What I make of it is that after 2021, he can legitimately be cut. I mean, that's the reality, is that, for the first time in his NFL career, to say his job's on the line is probably still too aggressive of a way to put it, but he's far more expendable, although it's difficult, next year than he ever has been for the team. And so this is, in many ways, is not do or die, but it's a make or break year, I think, for the future of his career. Also, I mean, I think even up to last year, many people viewed him, shout out to Stephen Jones, as the straw that stirs the drink. He's no longer the straw. He's not even the little umbrella that goes on the drink. He's not even the cherry. He's the little, the paper towel they wrap around it so you don't get the condensation on your hand. It gets wet after a while. I mean, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of elements in this drink. And whoever the running back is not an important one. I mean, he is, dependent on so many other factors. That's just the nature of the position in the NFL. But to be positive about Zeke, I do think from the one practice we've seen, this is admittedly a really optimistic way to spin this, but we heard that Zeke was in the best shape of his life. Tyron Smith's in the best shape of his life. Lyle Collins is in the best shape of his life. I kind of believe it. I kind of think that they are all in very good shape, which is very promising. Off of the minuscule sample size that exists, things are trending in the right direction, which is really exciting.
Well, and again, you look at Zeke following the lead of the new leader of this football team in Dak Prescott, understanding the dedication that it takes for them to achieve their goals. And I agree with you, fighting for his job. He knows it's on the line. He knows Pollard is available, or that with all the weapons they have, he's not as valuable as he once was. He's got to go prove that value once again, which I think is good. Quickly on the defensive side, Dan Quinn looks like he's going to end up being one of the stars of Hard Knocks. What did you make of the way the new defensive coordinator was running around in practice 1?
Backwards cap, man. I mean, backwards cap. And I saw him, his cap actually had a sweat stain in it. which is impressive to me because only caps I've ever gotten with like a sweat stain, like, I'm talking about the white lines that show up. Our caps have had for like years and years, caps you do yard work in. And I looked at it because I thought maybe it's like a, I don't know, a brand, like a Nike cap or something, something he's had for a long time. It was a Cowboys cap. You know what I mean? Like, this dude's put in all that work already. Like, you know what I mean? In the short time he's been a part of the organization. I mean, I'm being a little bit silly, but he does seem like a hard worker. I loved that he worked with Micah Parsons after practice. He seems comfortable. I mean, I'm not an Atlanta Falcons fan, but he never seemed comfortable in that role. This truly feels like where he's operating at his best, getting hands-on. It's a really exciting thing, and I think he has a lot of toys to work with, which is what the Cowboys defense needed overall, and maybe Malik Hooker joins them sooner rather than later.
Rejuvenated and excited is Dan Quinn. RJ Ochoa from bloggingtheboys.com. Enjoy your weekend, my friend. We'll talk to you next week from Oxnard, California. We'll be out there on the tennis courts.
Go Missions, and I hope the Astros beat the Rangers 500-1. I want them to get one run, feel good about themselves.
No, I want the shutout. I'm with you, man. My shirt, by the way. RJ Ochoa, always appreciate the time. Astros, Rangers coming up next here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. First week with the all the new local shows in the book, the new branding. Again, Monday, R&R in the morning from the tennis courts in Oxnard, California for our AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp coverage. Any side bets that you guys want to hit me up on Twitter on if they're late, because it's going to be 5 a.m. when they start out there on Monday in California. Don't forget the Saturday morning hangover tomorrow morning at 9. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you next week from California.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
This Sports Center update is brought to you by Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 100% satisfaction guarantee.